Chapter 3304. Boom! After Night Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd hit Xue Hong's chest, there was a loud explosion. The ripples from the explosion destroyed Xue Hong and destroyed the array that Night Sorrow had set up. Not good. Xue Hong wants to use this trick to alert all the patrol squads. After the array was destroyed, Night Sorrow immediately understood Xue Hong's intentions. However, things had already happened and he could not undo it. He immediately set up a new array. He was ready for a new battle. The three-eyed silver wolf and Qing Yun were shocked. After thinking for a while, the three-eyed silver wolf said, "Master, the situation is not good. Why don't we retreat first and plan again later? If we face the attack of a large number of patrol teams, I'm afraid we won't be able to withstand it. Now, Blood Demon Old Demon and the Baleful Blood Organization should be fighting with the two worlds' allied army. And Blood Demon Old Demon's side has an obvious advantage. We have to destroy the altar as soon as possible. There is no time to waste. As for the patrol teams in front of us, they should be coming in waves. I don't care about them." After explaining, Night Sorrow held the golden heavenly halberd and stood outside the palace to welcome the arrival of the battle. The truth was just as he said. Blood Demon Old Demon had already begun to attack the island's defensive array. When the array was destroyed, the people from the Eternal Supreme World and Eternal Ancient Desolate World could only fight to the death. If Blood Demon Old Demon rushed into the living area, Jing Yun, Wu Lingfei and the rest would definitely be in a life-and-death situation. This was something that Night Sorrow did not want to see happen. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, the three-eyed silver wolf sniffed and said, "The first batch of people that came was indeed a small team. After that, 2 more teams came together. As for the rest of the teams, they should be arriving at about the same time. According to this frequency, it shouldn't be a big threat." After saying that, Night Sorrow stood in the array and continued to wait for the patrol teams to arrive. Not long after, the first 6-man team descended from the sky. The team leader looked at Night Sorrow and said, "No matter why he is here, kill him." "Yes." The few cultivators in the team responded and all of them attacked Night Sorrow. At this moment, the three-eyed silver wolf and Qing Yun wanted to attack. However, Night Sorrow stopped them and said, "Stay in the concealment formation, don't move. I can get rid of a small team in no time." After saying that, he activated the 33 Heavens secret combat technique and destruction divine ability. He brandished the golden heavenly halberd and unleashed Extreme Flame Phantom. After Night Sorrow used his strongest and fastest attack, the cultivators in front of him could not block it at all. The few of them were quickly suppressed. After suppressing the 6 of them, Night Sorrow immediately used his virtue power to purify them. After purifying the 6 of them, Night Sorrow left them to the three-eyed silver wolf and Qing Yun. "I'll leave the rest to you. Those who don't leave the Blood Evil Organization will be killed directly." "Yes, Master. Yes." The three-eyed silver wolf and Qing Yun, who were still in shock, answered one after another. They were extremely fearful of the completely unleashed Night Sorrow. They felt that the current him was like a god of war that could kill anyone. "Go and do it," Night Sorrow said again, just in time to see 2 teams rushing over together. He soared into the air once again and unleashed Extreme Flame Phantom at them. This time, after all, the other party had 12 Sky Sovereigns. After Night Sorrow used this move, although 3 Sky Sovereigns were heavily injured. However, he, who was focused on attacking and did not think of defending, was also hit several times. However, all of these were blocked by the activated Azure Phoenix battle armor. Such defensive power! I'm afraid he can already fight with Old Demon Blood Evil. Seeing that Night Sorrow was continuously attacked and did not suffer any injuries, Qing Yun was shocked again. She felt that whether it was in terms of attack or defense, Night Sorrow. He had already surpassed the realm of Sky Sovereign and reached the level of half-step Extreme Realm. Among the lower heavenly sovereigns, this was probably the only one. The three-eyed silver wolf was also shocked, but he did not say anything. Instead, he immediately began to persuade the few people who had been purified to surrender. Soon, the few cultivators were persuaded by the three-eyed silver wolf. After all, they were all people whose clans had been wiped out by the Blood Evil organization. After the few of them joined, Night Sorrow's lineup immediately became more than 10. The three-eyed silver wolf immediately sent a voice transmission. Master, we're already quite large. Let everyone fight together and share your burden? No need, my recovery ability is very fast. I'll fight them myself and then quickly recover. This way, I can minimize the losses. After the three-eyed silver wolf's voice transmission, Night Sorrow immediately replied. After all, the Leaken bloodline in his body came from a supreme venerable, so his recovery ability was very strong. No matter how tragic the battle in front of him was, he could recover very quickly. Therefore, he wanted to leave the purified cultivators for the final battle to destroy the altar. He wanted to use the advantage of numbers to destroy the altar in one wave. Hearing this, the three-eyed silver wolf continued, "Then let's recover our strength and cheer for Master." "Alright, just watch," Night Sorrow said and continued to fight with the patrol team that had rushed over. About an hour later, Night Sorrow successfully purified all the teams. Apart from the ones he had killed, there were more than 50 cultivators who had joined his team. While these cultivators were recovering, Night Sorrow asked, "Who knows where the entrance to the secret chamber is?" "I don't know. We know that the altar is in the secret chamber below. But we don't know the location of the entrance at all." "That's right. Blood Evil Old Demon and the others don't let us come into contact with the real core. Every time we enter, we are brought in by Blood Evil Old Demon using the Space Grotto Heaven." Hearing this question, Qin Yun and the others replied helplessly. At this time, the three-eyed silver wolf smiled and said, "Master, I can find the location of the entrance." "Really?" Night Sorrow immediately asked in surprise. "Of course it's true. I can smell the difference in the aura nearby. From this, I can determine the location of the entrance." The three-eyed silver wolf said proudly. "Good. Then I'll have to trouble the others to enter the eternal divine tower to recover." "Three-eyed silver wolf, bring me to find the entrance." After getting a positive answer, Night Sorrow immediately ordered. Then, he let everyone enter the 10 times space of the eternal divine tower to recover. He followed behind the three-eyed silver wolf to find the entrance to the secret chamber. In fact, the entrance was marked on the map that Su Lei had given him. But this entrance had long been modified by the Blood Evil organization. This was something that Night Sorrow had guessed long ago. So, he didn't even look for the entrance on the map. www. Chapter 3305. The truth was exactly as Night Sorrow had predicted. The people of Bloodfiend had long changed the location of the secret chamber's entrance to another place. And they had set up several fake entrances. After checking 5 or 6 of them, Night Sorrow finally found the real secret chamber's entrance under the lead of the three-eyed silver wolf. Through the entrance, they entered the secret chamber's passageway. In other words, the passageway to the small world. Because this was a small world, it was impossible to enter by digging from the side. After entering the long passageway, the three-eyed silver wolf immediately reminded, "Master, I've heard that there are many mechanisms set up in this passageway. It's extremely difficult to pass through it. We have to be careful. You enter the Eternal Divine Tower first. I'll go through this passageway myself. In addition, I'll remember today's merit." Night Sorrow said and opened the sea serpent's eye to carefully observe the path ahead. Soon, he saw that there were many formation patterns in the passageway. Because he couldn't see what these formation patterns were for, Night Sorrow summoned the restriction-breaking hammer. He said, "Take a look at the formation patterns in this passage. What's going on?" "Wait a moment, let's observe." The male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer said and started to observe with the female hammer. On the other side, the Eternal Divine Tower also started to figure it out. But they couldn't see what was going on. The male hammer said helplessly, "The formation patterns in front of us seem to be extraordinary. We can't see what's going on." Xiaowu guessed with uncertainty, "I think it should be some offensive formation patterns. Or an illusion array. It's nothing more than these. Since you can't see it, let's barge in." Night Sorrow knew that the restriction-breaking hammer and the eternal divine tower couldn't see what was going on. He directly held the golden heavenly halberd and attacked. At this moment, he was worried about his family and friends on the island and didn't want to delay at all. He was more reckless than usual. After Night Sorrow activated the first batch of formation patterns. In the passageway, 10 extremely hideous-looking blood corpses were immediately summoned. In the Eternal Divine Tower, Qin Yun saw the 10 blood corpses and immediately warned, "Be careful. These are cultivated by the Blood Fiend organization using the blood pool. It only has the instinct to attack, but no real consciousness. Don't worry, I'll be fine against these things." However, by activating this rune, the person inside should have already alerted the enemy. A bitter battle is unavoidable. Night Sorrow said and charged towards the 10 blood corpses with the golden heavenly halberd in hand. Even after using the half-step paramount divine artifact, golden heavenly halberd, to stab at the blood corpses several times, it did not have much effect. He said in surprise, "The defense of these blood corpses is really strong." As he spoke, Night Sorrow directly activated the 33 Heavens secret combat technique as well as his annihilation divine ability. He used the Qingxian godly spear technique on these blood corpses. Clang! 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 However, after a series of metallic sounds, Night Sorrow suddenly realized that these blood corpses had copper skin and iron bones. Even an attack of this level would not be able to harm him. At this moment, he had already been hit several times. He's really not easy to deal with. After being continuously pushed back by the blood corpses, Night Sorrow immediately thought of a countermeasure. After thinking for a while, his eyes suddenly lit up. He immediately summoned the Dragon of Virtue and let it wrap around the golden heavenly halberd. Once again, he used the Qingxian godly spear technique on the 10 blood corpses. This time, every time the golden heavenly halberd stabbed the blood corpses, there would be a burst of sizzling sounds. After being attacked, the blood corpses would be ignited by the power of virtue. Soon, the 10 blood corpses were burned by the power of virtue. In the tunnel, they gradually turned into dust. After killing the 10 heavenly sovereign level blood corpses, Night Sorrow's power of virtue also increased. Because his power of virtue's base level was very low, it increased very quickly. It directly advanced to the level of lower earthly sovereign. It could be said that he had caught up by a lot. When he realized that his power of virtue had increased by so much, Night Sorrow immediately said excitedly, "Very good. Before the final battle, increasing my power of virtue to the level of earthly sovereign will definitely play a very good role in the process of destroying the altar." "Congratulations, Master, your superpower has increased." Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the three-eyed silver wolf immediately congratulated him. Qin Yun and the rest were a little uncomfortable with the three-eyed silver wolf calling him master. This was because they all knew the three-eyed silver wolf and knew that he was once one of the giants of the eternal ancient desolate world. He was second only to the top figures like Su Lei. The three-eyed silver wolf naturally saw through Qin Yun and the rest's thoughts. In the eternal divine tower, he smiled and said, "You don't understand." Qin Yun and the rest did not say anything. Instead, their gazes once again landed on Night Sorrow. At this moment, Night Sorrow, after burning the power of lower earthly sovereign's power of virtue, suddenly became incomparably sacred. Without hesitation, he took another step forward and continued to walk forward. Not long after, the second set of runes was activated. This time, they had entered an illusion. A blood-red small world. As soon as they entered, a gloomy blood rain fell in this small world. Night Sorrow opened the sea serpent's eye to observe for a while, but did not discover anything. Hence, he continued to walk forward in the blood rain. Not long after he walked, corpses made of blood continuously crawled out from the blood-red soil in front of him. These corpses made of blood were not the same as the blood corpses he had encountered earlier. In terms of aura, they were obviously stronger. In about 10 breaths' time, 33 blood corpses that looked exactly the same crawled out from the ground. As soon as they appeared, they roared and charged at Sorrow. These corpses made of blood not only had stronger aura than the blood corpses outside, but their speed was also obviously much faster. However, at this moment, Night Sorrow was still activating the Treastrimsa battle's secret technique and the destruction super ability. Seeing that these corpses were extremely fast, he immediately used the golden heavenly halberd to display the extreme flame phantom. Using the speed, he quickly passed through the corpses. He consecutively pierced through more than 10 corpses. However, after these corpses were pierced through, they quickly gathered together and did not suffer any injuries at all. Not injured? Looks like I have to use the power of virtue again. Seeing the situation in front of him, Night Sorrow immediately activated the Dragon of Virtue. Once again, he let it wrap around the golden heavenly halberd and attacked the corpses in front of him again. However, this time, even if he used the power of virtue, his attacks still could not harm these corpses made of blood. Night Sorrow immediately frowned and said, "Who knows what's going on? I feel that this is an illusion, so the things that appear should not be real. Since they are not real, they will not be injured." Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Qin Yun immediately deduced. www. Chapter 3306. Yes, I think so too. The existence of this illusion array is very likely to make Master consume endless divine power. The three-eyed silver wolf said and continued to deduce, "As for what will happen after that, I'm not sure." Hearing this, Night Sorrow thought and said, "Since we can't deduce what will happen after that, let's test it out." Then he continued to fight with the corpses made of blood in front of him. After fighting for about 100 breaths, he directly withdrew about 50% of the divine power around him, giving people the feeling that his divine power was running out. Realizing that the corpses in front of him did not change at all, he withdrew another 30% of his divine power. He only used 20% of his divine power and only used speed to deal with these things. Then he withdrew his divine power to only 1%. At this moment, Night Sorrow realized that although these corpses made of blood looked very powerful, they gradually began to fade. After he completely hid his divine power, these corpses completely disappeared. What replaced them were 3 blood corpses that crawled out of the blood. These 3 blood corpses looked very ferocious. Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to check and found that these were real. He immediately understood that the things that this array had just summoned were only to consume his divine power. And these 3 blood corpses in front of him should be used to kill. Roar! After the 3 blood corpses appeared, they immediately roared into the sky. Then they attacked Night Sorrow at the same time. What powerful strength! They are 5 to 6 times stronger than the 10 blood corpses that were killed. After the 3 blood corpses attacked, Night Sorrow immediately released his divine power again. Moreover, he raised his divine power to the strongest state and activated the Green Phoenix battle armor. While fighting, he covered his body with flames. After these flames appeared, they directly dispersed the blood on his body. Seeing that Night Sorrow's aura had recovered, the 3 blood corpses that appeared immediately launched an even more ferocious attack than before. However, although the 3 blood corpses were very strong, they were only at the level of Upper Heavenly Supreme and not half-step to the Supreme Realm. With Night Sorrow going all out, he quickly destroyed the 3 blood corpses. This time, he had killed the 3 blood corpses. Although he had received a bonus from the power of merit, his power of merit was still that of a lower earthly sovereign. Obviously, after his power of merit had advanced to the earthly sovereign level, the speed at which he killed heavenly sovereign-level evil spirits had significantly decreased. Buzz. After the 3 blood corpses were killed, the illusory formation in front of him disappeared completely. Night Sorrow immediately came out of the small world. Once again he appeared in the tunnel. After standing firm, Night Sorrow immediately transmitted his voice. "Three-eyed silver wolf, you've done a meritorious deed again. If it weren't for your accurate deduction, I don't know how long I would have to fight those illusory blood corpses." "You don't have to be so polite, Master. I was just guessing and happened to stumble upon the truth." Hearing the praise, the three-eyed silver wolf immediately smiled and said, Being able to deduce the truth by chance is also a kind of luck. At this point, I can't praise you verbally anymore. This is the Supreme Flaming Phoenix Gold, a supreme grade material. Keep it well. As he spoke, Night Sorrow took out 2 fist-sized pieces of Supreme Flaming Phoenix Gold and handed them to the three-eyed silver wolf. Oh, a supreme grade material. It's really a supreme grade material. After receiving the Supreme Flaming Phoenix Gold, the three-eyed silver wolf immediately shouted excitedly. At this time, Night Sorrow continued, although this Supreme Flaming Phoenix Gold is a supreme grade material, it hasn't been purified, so it can only be refined into a half-step to supreme grade divine artifact. You can try to refine it. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master. Hearing this, the three-eyed silver wolf immediately refined the Supreme Flaming Phoenix Gold in the Eternal Divine Tower. Soon, it refined them into a pair of wolf claws. Although this pair of wolf claws looked a little small, they could be changed in size at will. After the three-eyed silver wolf put them on, it scratched its own defensive armor and immediately tore it apart. Amazing! A half-step to supreme grade divine artifact is indeed extraordinary. It hasn't even gone through the thunder calamity, and it already has such power. Thank you, Master. After the three-eyed silver wolf confirmed the power of this divine artifact, it immediately cried out with gratitude. You deserve this. You don't have to be emotional here. The three-eyed silver wolf was too emotional, so Night Sorrow said unhappily and continued to walk into the passage. Not long after, he entered another small world. This small world was similar to the small world that was raining blood. The only difference was that the blood corpses that appeared were all real. Yishan only managed to kill a few dozen blood corpses after roughly an hour of fighting. After killing so many blood corpses, his power of merit suddenly advanced to the level of a middle earthly sovereign. The power of merit, I've held it in for too long. It suddenly advanced, and it continuously improved by so much. Good, very good. His power of merit had advanced again, and he had broken through another level. Night Sorrow was in a good mood. At this time, there were only a few runes left in front of him. He used the sea serpent's eye to observe for a while. After confirming that he still couldn't see anything, he prepared to continue stepping in. At this time, Qin Yun suddenly said, "Wait. I feel that there must be something wrong with this last level. Don't step in rashly." "Oh? What do you mean?" Night Sorrow stopped and asked doubtfully. Qin Yun continued, "According to my understanding of the Blood Evil organization, they are very vicious. Generally speaking, the difficulty of the last level would be much higher than all the previous levels combined." I've already thought of this." Night Sorrow responded and continued, "However, the level is right in front of us. If we don't activate it, what else can we do?" "Master, I just got a half-step to supreme level divine artifact. Why don't you let me go in and help you explore?" At this time, the three-eyed silver wolf volunteered. Hearing this, Night Sorrow was a little touched. However, he immediately said seriously, "No need. I'll do it myself. There's no need for you to take this risk. I still have some tricks up my sleeve." After saying that, he activated all the information on his body. He took a few steps forward and completely activated the last runes. Who would have thought? After entering, he was suddenly teleported out of the palace. He appeared outside the palace. The last runes are actually teleportation runes? When he appeared outside the palace and saw the familiar scenery, Night Sorrow was immediately surprised. He used the sea serpent's eye to observe the surroundings. This is indeed outside the palace. Qin Yun observed for a while and said immediately. At this time, the three-eyed silver wolf said slowly, "No. Although this looks exactly the same as the palace, the smell is different. I can smell the difference." Chapter 3307. Oh, if you've discovered anything different, just say it. Hearing the three-eyed silver wolf's words, Night Sorrow immediately asked, "Reporting to Master, you should still remember when I brought you guys to find the entrance, right? At that time, I relied on the difference in smell to find the entrance." The three-eyed silver wolf explained and then explained, And here in front of us, there's no smell at all. Therefore, even if it looks exactly the same, it's definitely not the same region. What you mean is that we weren't teleported out. Instead, we entered a new world? Night Sorrow said with a frown. The environment here, even with the sea serpent's eye, he couldn't see any illusory existence. The feeling that it gave people should be real. According to my judgment, this blood evil organization's altar should be hidden in a brand new world. It's not in the same space as the palace. Therefore, it's very difficult for the people from blood evil organization to enter. The three-eyed silver wolf said his judgment. He felt that the blood evil altar should be in an independent plane. As for how to enter, he couldn't guess at all. Hearing him say this, Qin Yun immediately agreed. That's right. It's really possible. If it's really like this, it'll be even more difficult for us to find the altar. If your deduction is not wrong, then in the palace in front of us, it's very likely that we'll find a new secret chamber entrance. Or rather, an entrance to a new plane. Night Sorrow said and then ordered, let's go find a new entrance. Three-eyed silver wolf, this matter still depends on you. Alright, Master, let me out. The three-eyed silver wolf immediately said. He was still very obedient towards Night Sorrow's words. Come out. Night Sorrow said and released the three-eyed silver wolf and Qin Yun. The others were still recovering in the Eternal Divine Tower. After leaving the Eternal Divine Tower, the three-eyed silver wolf sniffed carefully and said, although the smell here isn't heavy, I can still smell the smell of blood evil organization cultivators. Master, please follow me. Your nose is really powerful. Compared to secret treasures, it's not inferior. Hearing this, Night Sorrow praised again. He didn't expect that purifying the three-eyed silver wolf on a whim would have such a great effect now. He could not detect any of the scents around him. Qin Yun, who was at the side, also didn't sense anything strange. She also felt that the nose of the three-eyed silver wolf was very rare. He praised, this talent of yours is useless in battle. But when it comes to finding something, it's really amazing. Of course, in the blood evil organization, I was assigned to patrol the palace. That was definitely a waste of talent. The three-eyed silver wolf said proudly. Then, it led Night Sorrow and Qin Yun to search for the entrance. After searching for several locations, he finally found the place. Once again, they entered the passageway set up by the blood evil organization. As soon as he entered, Night Sorrow discovered another array pattern that was similar to the previous one. He recalled the situation of the previous passageway and compared it. The passageway in front of us is almost the same as the one we just passed through. It's almost the same. Should we try to break the formation again? When Qin Yun heard Night Sorrow's words, she looked at the array runes and said, since there's no way out, let's press forward. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he walked towards the array pattern in front of him again. This time, he did not keep the two of them into the Eternal Divine Tower. When Qin Yun and the three-eyed silver wolf saw Night Sorrow walking forward, they immediately followed. After the three of them stepped onto the array pattern, 10 blood corpses immediately appeared in the passageway. These 10 blood corpses were similar to the ones that appeared in the previous passageway. However, their auras were even stronger. It's really similar to the previous passageway. Exterminate them. Night Sorrow said and led Qin Yun and the three-eyed silver wolf to fight the blood corpses in front of them. This time, it was the same as the previous one. Ordinary attacks had no effect on the blood corpses at all. In the end, he used the Dragon of Virtue to kill these 10 blood corpses. After that, Night Sorrow brought the two of them and continued to break through. What they encountered was almost the same as the previous passageway. However, some of the blood corpses they encountered were much stronger. After passing the 4th checkpoint, the three-eyed silver wolf frowned and said, this array pattern in front of us won't teleport us out again, right? Probably so. Looking at the array pattern in front of me, it looks similar to the previous one. Night Sorrow judged. In order to prevent us from being separated, you guys had better enter the Eternal Divine Tower. As he spoke, he kept Qin Yun and the three-eyed silver wolf into the Eternal Divine Tower. After that, he stepped into the 5th checkpoint's array pattern again. Just as they had guessed, when he appeared again, he appeared in the periphery of the Imperial Palace again. After standing firm, Night Sorrow let the two of them out. He looked at the three-eyed silver wolf and said, "Sure enough, it's the same as our judgment. Smell it again and see if it's the same as the previous area." "Yes, master." The three-eyed silver wolf responded and once again displayed its bloodline power, smelling the surrounding smell. After a while, it said, "Master, this place is different from the previous 2 times. Then let's find the entrance again." Night Sorrow thought for a moment and felt that it might be similar to the previous time. They had fallen into a new plane again. He continued to let the three-eyed silver wolf find the entrance. "Yes, master. It's just that this time the smell is much lighter. It might take some time to find the entrance." The three-eyed silver wolf judged. "Try to be faster. But if we can't do it, there's nothing we can do." Night Sorrow looked at the Imperial Palace in the distance and said slowly, "Without a doubt, they had entered a cycle. What exactly did they need to do to find the location of the altar?" He was not very sure. But from the looks of it, they could only take one step at a time. "I'll try to find the entrance as soon as possible. Master, you guys follow me." After the three-eyed silver wolf finished speaking, it brought Night Sorrow and Qin Yun to find a new entrance again. This time, they spent about 2 hours before they found the right place. After entering, they encountered the same thing as the previous few passages. After a bitter battle, they exterminated all the blood corpses and arrived in front of the 5th checkpoint's array pattern. At this time, Night Sorrow frowned and said, "Something doesn't seem right." This time, after killing so many blood corpses, the power of virtue in my body did not increase at all. This proves that the blood corpses that we killed just now seem to be illusory. We are most likely in an illusion. In an illusion? If we activate the 5th checkpoint's array pattern, then we will enter a series of illusions? Hearing this, Qin Yun immediately said doubtfully. Chapter 3308. I guess that might be the case. Night Sorrow nodded as he observed the runes. The three-eyed silver wolf looked at the runes as well. These bastards from Blood Fiends are really powerful. They want us to be trapped in a loop forever. If it were any other day, it wouldn't matter if we were trapped for a period of time. We can slowly break the array and find a way out. But Blood Fiends is fighting with our family and friends. We can't waste time like this. We have to think of a way to break the array. Night Sorrow pondered for a moment and said, "Restriction Breaking Hammer, Eternal Divine Tower, help me think of a way too." Then he summoned the Restriction Breaking Hammer and Eternal Divine Tower. Actually, we've already studied the illusion array in front of us in the Grotto Heaven. Although this place looks extremely real and can't be broken, it's definitely fake. What we need to do is to destroy this fake world. As for how we're going to do it, we're not sure. The male hammer of the Restriction Breaking Hammer said immediately after it was summoned. The female hammer, who had not spoken for a long time, continued after the male hammer finished speaking. "I guess that one way to break the illusion in front of us is to reach a certain level of strength. At least half step to Supreme Realm and can see the true essence of the array. Secondly, one's strength has to reach a certain level. One can be unreasonable and directly break the array in front of us. One can defeat 10 with one's strength. Think about it. Even if everyone's array formation is exquisite, can it trap a limiter? Makes sense. The Restriction Breaking Hammer and the rest have a point." Xiaowu agreed after hearing what the Restriction Breaking Hammer said. However, he controlled the Eternal Divine Tower to observe and couldn't see through the array in front of them. He asked in confusion, "The Eternal Divine Tower we're controlling is a half-step to Supreme Realm Divine Weapon. Why can't we see through the illusion in front of us? It should require a half-step to Supreme Realm Cultivator to see through it." The male hammer of the Restriction Breaking Hammer said after Xiaowu finished speaking. At this moment, Night Sorrow looked at the Eternal Divine Tower and said, "Since we can't understand what's going on with this array, then we'll use the old method to break the array." He felt that the Restriction Breaking Hammer's analysis was very reasonable. Under the circumstances where they didn't know what was going on with the array, this was the only way. This was a solution that wasn't a solution. The old method. Breaking the formation by force? Little 5 didn't quite understand what Yishang was talking about. Little 7 reacted and asked. It's the same as what we did in the past. Night Sorrow explained, the Eternal Divine Tower will directly attack the runes of the 5th stage with its strongest attack. According to his judgment, the most problematic part was the 5th stage's formation pattern. After all, it was these runes that looked similar to each other that brought them into different environments. Alright. However, are you sure that we should directly use our strongest attack? Isn't it a little exhausting to use your strongest attack on an array pattern? Little 5 felt that directly using his strongest attack would consume a lot of energy, so he was a little reluctant. Seeing Little 5's reluctance, Night Sorrow said, "Time is everything. This attack might not be appropriate, but we have to attack. I can't let my family and friends wait for too long. Do you understand what I mean? Alright, I'll do it now. I'll definitely use my strongest attack without holding back." Hearing this, Little 5 immediately understood Night Sorrow's meaning and immediately gathered the power of the Eternal Divine Tower. Using his strongest attack, he blasted the runes in front of him. Buzz. This attack from the Eternal Divine Tower was definitely even more ferocious than Night Sorrow's strongest attack. It blasted the runes in front of them and immediately made a loud noise. It directly blasted the invisible film in front of them. The moment the invisible film shattered, everything in front of them was like broken glass, instantly shattering and then quickly disappearing. However, what appeared again was still a similar scene. It seemed that no one had moved. At this moment, Night Sorrow looked at the three-eyed silver wolf and said, "Three-eyed silver wolf, sniff and see what's the situation here." "Yes, master." The three-eyed silver wolf responded and used his talent to transform into a wolf, using his sense of smell to explore the space in front of him. After exploring for a while, the three-eyed silver wolf transformed back into a human. "This is the place where we just entered. The floor just now. Do you understand?" "Understood. In other words, we've returned to the space just now." Night Sorrow replied, then looked at the Eternal Sacred Tower and said, "Little 5. Continue to attack the runes in front of us. Maintain the same intensity as before? The Eternal Divine Tower can only use that level of attack a few times. Every time we use it against a strong enemy, we will have one less chance to counterattack." Little 5 said after hearing the order. "Let's use it once first, then study the others." Night Sorrow nodded. Thinking of the threat that old Demon Blood Fiend would bring to the island, how could he care about treasuring resources? But Little 5 responded and struck out again. This time, the attack was almost exactly the same as before. The scene in front of them was once again like the ice surface, completely shattering. When the scene in front of them appeared again, Little 5 asked directly, "Do you still want to use the same attack?" "One more time." Night Sorrow did not hesitate and said firmly. Then Little 5 attacked again, shattering the small world in front of them again. This time, under the confirmation of the three-eyed silver wolf, they were sure that they had appeared in the passageway that they had entered the first time. At this moment, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and continued, "Little 5. Continue." But again, Little 5 roared loudly, and then controlled the Eternal Divine Tower to launch another attack. Just as Little 5 attacked, Night Sorrow, who had gone all out, also shot the godly shot. The two attacks, almost at the same time, bombarded the runes in front of them. It caused a huge commotion on the spot. At the same time, an invisible door in front of them was forcibly blasted open. Everyone looked over and found that a new path had appeared in the passageway. This time, without the three-eyed silver wolf saying anything, Night Sorrow and the rest had already smelled the thick smell of blood. Smelling this smell, Qin Yun immediately frowned and said, "This is the smell of the blood pool. We have entered the space where the blood pool is. The blood pool is there, the altar is there. Found it, we finally found it. This is the smell of the blood pool. Let's rush in and destroy the altar." the strength of everyone in the Blood Fiend organization will be reduced by at least 50%. The three-eyed silver wolf who sniffed carefully said with certainty. Finally walking out of the illusion and finding the altar, he was very excited. At this moment, an extremely cold voice came from the depths of the passageway. This is the first time I've seen someone so happy to die. Second leader. This voice comes from the most mysterious second leader of the Blood Fiend organization. Hearing this voice, Qin Yun immediately judged. Chapter 3309. Second leader? In that case, we found the right place. It's good that we found the right one. Hearing Qin Yun's words, Night Sorrow immediately rejoiced. No matter what, they had already found the main character now and could fight with real swords and spears. Unlike earlier, they could only circle around in the illusion array. Master, be careful. This second leader is very mysterious. He has used many names to show people. But as for who he is exactly, only Old Fiend Blood Fiend knows. Now that he has already advanced to half-step extreme realm, his strength is rather formidable. Especially near the blood pool and altar, his combat strength will at least increase by 50%. The three-eyed silver wolf saw Night Sorrow's performance and immediately opened its mouth to remind. Afraid that he would underestimate the extremely troublesome second leader because of his carelessness. In their hearts, this second leader was even more terrifying than Old Fiend Blood Fiend. Basically, those heinous matters of the Blood Fiend organization were all presided over by him. Relax, this matter concerns human lives. I won't have any carelessness. At the same time that Night Sorrow responded, he opened the sea serpent's eye and looked into the depths of the passageway. This time, he did not see any formation patterns. He ordered, everyone, charge in with me and destroy the Blood Fiend altar. Break one of their legs. At this time, Qin Yun transmitted, wait. The Blood Fiend organization's people, fighting at the location of the blood pool, their strength is virtually inexhaustible. If possible, can we lure them out to fight? These people left behind by the Blood Fiend organization are guarding the altar. Even when we were breaking the formation, they did not leave the blood pool half a step. It's impossible to lure them out now. Let's charge in. Night Sorrow, who did not wish to delay for a moment, roared and took the lead to charge into the passageway. Let's follow too. The three-eyed silver wolf and Qin Yun exchanged a glance and followed closely behind. Several dozen breaths later, they appeared in the space where the altar and blood pool were located. This space occupied a very vast area and did not look like an underground world at all. The blood pool that they spoke of was actually a blood sea with a radius of 1,000 miles. In the center of the blood sea, there was a tall altar that reached straight to the sky. Currently, a stooped figure stood on the altar. Taking a look, the three-eyed silver wolf reminded, the one standing on the altar is the second leader of the Blood Fiend organization. Normally, most of the Blood Fiend organization's matters are managed by him. I can feel his strength. After replying, Yi Shang looked at the vast sea of blood. He said angrily, how many people's blood is needed to gather the blood pool? The Blood Fiend organization, Blood Fiend organization. After we destroy the Blood Fiend altar, we must annihilate everyone in this organization. Yes, this kind of heinous beast doesn't have the right to live in this world. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, the three-eyed silver wolf agreed. At this moment, the people who were recovering in the Eternal Divine Tower all asked to fight. Now that they had regained their consciousness, they knew clearly what kind of torture their family and friends had suffered. Get ready to become a part of the Blood Sea. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the second leader of the Blood Fiend organization stood on the altar, raised his arms and roared. He controlled the Blood Sea and made it surge. After the Blood Sea surged, about 30 cultivators with their eyes closed gradually rose from the bottom of the sea. After these cultivators rose into the air, the second leader of the Blood Fiend organization said coldly, "Kill all the invaders." After he gave the order, these cultivators covered in blood opened their eyes one by one and locked their gazes on Night Sorrow's group. Every cultivator's eyes were filled with blood-red killing intent. They stared at Night Sorrow's group as if they were looking at dead people. Their aura was very scary. They seemed to be much stronger than before. Seeing these blood-red cultivators, Qin Yun couldn't help but say. The 30 cultivators in front of them gave off a very strong feeling. At this moment, the three-eyed silver wolf reminded, "Master, summon all of our men." "Yes, that's what I was thinking too. Everyone, let's attack together and test the enemy's strength. I'll make further arrangements." After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow followed the three-eyed silver wolf's suggestion and summoned all the cultivators in the Eternal Divine Tower. By the time everyone had been summoned, there were already about 60 cultivators on Night Sorrow's side. It was basically twice the number of the opponent, but he didn't have the slightest mentality of having an advantage. That was because the 60 cultivators in front of him were all purified by him with the power of merit. Although their cultivation didn't drop because they gave up the blood fiend power, their strength had decreased. Even if it was 2 against 1, they might not be a match for the 30 blood-red cultivators in front of him. However, Night Sorrow was already very satisfied with such a situation. After all, when he first arrived at the periphery of the palace, he was facing more than 100 cultivators alone. At that time, there was no hope at all. If they could destroy the altar of the Blood Fiend organization, it would be equivalent to Night Sorrow defeating half of the Blood Fiend organization with his own strength. So these people have all been purified by you. Do you have the power of merit? After Night Sorrow summoned many cultivators, the second leader immediately locked his gaze on Night Sorrow and asked maliciously, "It's useless to say more." At this moment, Night Sorrow didn't waste any more words and directly ordered. He was in no mood to listen to the second leader's nonsense. "With the strength of these small fries that you purified? What a joke." After the second leader sneered, he suddenly shuddered a few times. Then, his doppelganger suddenly appeared on the altar. After this doppelganger appeared, it immediately charged towards Night Sorrow and said coldly, "People like you are the enemy of the Blood Fiend organization. You must die today." "You want to kill me? I'm afraid it's not enough with just your doppelganger." Night Sorrow used the eye of the sea serpent to observe and found that the doppelganger of the second leader only had the strength of an upper heavenly supreme. It hadn't reached the level of a half-step to supreme realm. He said disdainfully and used the golden heavenly halberd to shoot out the godly spear. Then, he shot out the roaring flame demon spear at the 30 cultivators who were charging towards him. At the same time, seeing that Night Sorrow had made his move, the cultivators who were summoned all started fighting with the 30 blood-red cultivators. "It seems that I have underestimated you. It seems that you, a lower heavenly supreme, are not easy to deal with." Facing Night Sorrow's godly spear, the doppelganger summoned by the second leader wanted to take it head-on. However, it was blown apart by the spear. He immediately sneered. Chapter 33:10. The laughter of the second-in-command of the Blood Evil organization was filled with mockery and arrogance. Although the first clone had been killed in an instant, he did not take Night Sorrow seriously at all. Hearing his laughter, Yishang coldly replied, "Why don't you come over and fight me yourself? If you don't dare to come down, I'll go up." You want to come up? You'll have to defeat my puppet clone first. Otherwise, you don't have that right." Hearing this, the second-in-command, who was standing on the altar, let out a sinister laugh. Then he summoned a puppet clone. This time, the clone he summoned had the aura of a half-step to the supreme realm. The skin on its face had been torn off by some unknown method, revealing the blackened flesh inside. It was wearing a gray robe that was stained with blood. Dripping blood flowed down, making the scene look extremely sinister. After sizing it up, Yishang was certain that this blood corpse avatar had been refined into a doppelganger by the second commander after killing a half-step Supreme Realm expert. The cruel thing was that the half-step to the Supreme Realm expert's face had been torn off. "You've really barged into hell. I'm going to help my master tear you to pieces. I'm going to make a new puppet clone." While Night Sorrow was sizing up the bloody corpse, it let out a hoarse roar and flew up. It twisted its body and clawed viciously at Night Sorrow. A few of its fingernails instantly lengthened and scratched several dark red bloody marks in the void. Is being refined into a clone and helping the evildoer something that you want to do in your cultivation? In the face of the puppet clone's attack, Night Sorrow immediately used the defiant 9 steps to dodge and asked coldly, "Next, I'll help you completely free yourself." Without waiting for the puppet clone to react, he used the golden heavenly halberd and used the mysterious azure divine spear technique. Then he started fighting. This puppet clone was good at using its sharp claws for close combat, which was exactly what Night Sorrow wanted. Because close combat was not only fun to fight, but it was also faster to determine victory and defeat. Strong it was strong, weak it was weak. Soon the winner would be decided. "Master, don't worry and fight. We will help you fend off these blood-red cultivators." Seeing Night Sorrow fighting with the puppet doppelganger summoned by the second leader of Blood Fiends, Yi Zichen was shocked. The three-eyed silver wolf that was fighting with Qing Yun against the crimson cultivator immediately roared, "Thank you." During the battle, Night Sorrow glanced at the cultivators who were fighting. When he realized that they were evenly matched with the other party, which was obviously better than he had expected, he was no longer as worried as before. However, he still transmitted his voice to Little Five. "Little Five, I can deal with this puppet clone. Take control of the Eternal Divine Tower and think of a way to kill a few of the Scarlet Cultivators. That way, everyone can relax a lot." He was clear that the battle had just begun, and the three-eyed silver wolf and the others would definitely be able to hold on. However, they had yet to fully recover, so they would definitely be lacking in strength. "Good. I'll find an opportunity to kill a few of them at once." After receiving the message, Little Five immediately controlled the Eternal Divine Tower and left Night Sorrow's side, flying towards the location where the three-eyed silver wolf and the others were fighting. Find an opportunity to attack. After arranging this matter, Night Sorrow no longer paid attention to Qing Yun and the others. He began to fight with the puppet clone in front of him in peace. This puppet clone no longer had any divine essence energy in its body. However, relying on the power of the blood pool, when it fought, its divine essence energy was even more abundant than Night Sorrow's. After fighting for a while, not only did its strength and speed not decrease, it became even stronger. Night Sorrow, who was originally evenly matched with it, gradually began to fall into a disadvantage. You think you have the ability to contend with a half-step extreme realm. What's the result now? How can an ant like you provoke a half-step extreme realm expert? Now go and die. Seeing Night Sorrow being suppressed by the puppet clone, the second leader of the Blood Fiend organization mocked sinisterly. Furthermore, right at this moment he suddenly flew down from the altar. Aiming at Night Sorrow's location, he directly blasted out a blood-colored scepter. This blood-colored scepter was clearly something from the altar. At the same time it flew out, it immediately received the support of the blood pool's energy. It bloomed with a shocking blood light. Boom! Night Sorrow, who was fighting with the puppet clone, executed the heaven-defying 9 steps in a situation where he was suppressed, wanting to dodge this attack. However, he did not succeed and was hit by the blood-colored scepter on his shoulder. The area above Night Sorrow's left shoulder was immediately smashed into a bloody mess, and even his bones were exposed. You came down? Just in time. Just in time to finish off the two of you together. Eternal Divine Tower, fight with me. After being hit by the second leader of the Blood Fiend organization's scepter, Night Sorrow suffered quite a bit of injury. However, he had the bloodline of the human wolf's supremacy. Under its repair, he quickly recovered completely. At this moment, Xiaowu had just controlled the Eternal Divine Tower and killed 5 blood-colored cultivators in an instant. Night Sorrow immediately summoned it over. Alright, coming. After being summoned by Night Sorrow, Xiaowu immediately controlled the Eternal Divine Tower to fly to his side. At the same time, Night Sorrow activated the Green Phoenix armor. After that, he activated the Treastrimsa battle secret technique and the Destruction Divine ability again. Finally, he released the power of virtue that had advanced to the Middle Earthly Sovereign level. He turned it into a dragon of virtue and wrapped it around the golden heavenly halberd. Now that the second leader of the Blood Fiend organization had flown down to fight, he also had the thought of risking his life. These things are not bad. They will belong to me in the future. Seeing that Night Sorrow had 3 half-step to the supreme-level divine artifacts, the second leader of the Blood Fiend organization raised his head and revealed a sinister smile. He summoned more than 10 blood-colored corpses from the ground. The strength of these blood-colored corpses was basically on par with the blood-colored cultivators summoned from the blood pool. Seeing this situation, the three-eyed silver wolf and Qingyun immediately started to worry about Night Sorrow. The three-eyed silver wolf said, "Master, they should be able to deal with the remaining blood-colored cultivators. Tin and I will help you." "No need. I should be able to fight." Facing the second leader of the Blood Fiend organization, his puppet clone, and more than 10 blood-colored corpses, Night Sorrow, who had completely unleashed his aura, roared and pierced the extreme flame phantom towards the second leader of the Blood Fiend organization. At the same time, he said, "Xiao Wu, attack those blood-colored corpses. There are too many of them. I can't deal with them. Leave it to us." However, the power in the Eternal Divine Tower is about to be exhausted. Xiao Wu responded and said helplessly, "No worries. After we defeat the 2 half-step to the supreme-level experts in front of us, I will let you guys absorb them." As Night Sorrow responded, the Golden Heavenly Halberd had already reached the second leader of the Blood Fiend organization. What surprised him was that the second leader of the Blood Fiend organization did not dodge this attack at all. The Golden Heavenly Halberd directly pierced through his body. Night Sorrow suddenly discovered a secret. However, just as he opened his mouth, the puppet clone beside him attacked. It directly interrupted his sentence. www. Chapter 33:11. What Night Sorrow wanted to say was that the second leader of the Blood Fiend organization was clearly a liquid Holy Spirit. He was clearly a living being born from the blood pool. This was because when Night Sorrow stabbed out with his spear, his body instantly transformed into a liquid state. A huge hole appeared. Night Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd pierced through empty air and directly pierced through his body. At the same time, the blood of the second leader of the Blood Fiend organization also stained the golden heavenly halberd. After being stained by his blood, the golden heavenly halberd was instantly corroded into a blood-red color, looking extremely evil. And at this moment, the puppet clone of the second leader of the Blood Fiend organization had also attacked. Night Sorrow frowned and used the Dragon of Virtue to purify the golden heavenly halberd. At the same time, he used the Divine Essence Trap Array and the 33 Tao Words formula. He temporarily sealed the puppet clone within it. Then, before it could react, he used the Extreme Flame Phantom. Yishang did not look down on a half-step to the Paramount Realm clone. The speed of Extreme Flame Phantasm was extremely fast. When he used it, it directly bombarded the puppet avatar. The puppet doppelganger was sent flying. The golden heavenly halberd that had turned blood-red slowly recovered under the purification of the Dragon of Virtue. "Bastard! How dare you hurt my puppet clone?" Seeing that Night Sorrow had recovered the golden heavenly halberd, the second leader of the Blood Fiend organization flew into a rage. Then, he turned into a bloody mist and disappeared on the spot. The dozens of blood corpses that he summoned surrounded Night Sorrow one after another. They attacked continuously. At this moment, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Little Five. "Control the Eternal Divine Tower and attack these blood corpses." From the looks of it, using the Eternal Divine Tower to attack 2 half-step to Supreme Realm existences shouldn't have much effect. It's better to attack these small ones. "Alright, I'll try my best to kill a few more." As Little Five responded, he used the Eternal Divine Tower's strongest attack on the blood corpses that were charging over. Night Sorrow cooperated with the Eternal Divine Tower and used the Merit Trap Array to slow down the blood corpses' speed by a lot. When the Eternal Divine Tower's attack landed on the Virtuous Trapping Array, more than half of the blood corpses were immediately destroyed. Night Sorrow counted. Originally, there were more than 10 blood corpses, but now there were only 9 left. Not good. However, just as Night Sorrow was rejoicing, a sense of crisis suddenly rose from the bottom of his heart. Without any hesitation, he used the 9 heaven-defying steps and left his original position. Just as he was about to leave, the Blood Fiend's second leader, who had transformed into a blood sword, suddenly pierced through where he had been standing. Night Sorrow used the Sea Serpent's eye to take a look and realized that the second leader of the Blood Fiends was attacking his Dantian. Obviously, he wanted to kill him in one strike. That was close. How can this guy's sneak attack be so silent? After Night Sorrow dodged, Little Seven immediately said in surprise. In fact, the sneak attack by the second leader of the Blood Evil organization was completely untraceable. Yishang had only dodged it because he felt uneasy on the spur of the moment. After Little Seven finished speaking, he frowned and said, "It should be because the blood aura here is too strong, and he is a creature born from the blood pool. That's why he can hide in the surrounding void without anyone noticing. It's really not easy to fight against him here." After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Little Seven replied and continued, "There's not much we can do for you. Let's kill a few more blood corpses." After saying that, Little Seven got Little Five to control the Eternal Divine Tower to attack the blood corpses in front of them again. After all, their attacks were at the level of half a step to the Supreme Realm. After attacking again, they killed another 4 blood corpses. The number of blood corpses in front of them was only 5. Well done. Seeing that the Eternal Divine Tower had killed another 4 blood corpses, Night Sorrow praised it and used his aura to lock onto the puppet doppelganger. Unleash a flaming attack on it. These bloody creatures in front of him gave off an extremely sinister feeling. He wanted to burn them with flames. As for the second leader of the blood corpses, he disappeared into the void again. He should be preparing another attack. Night Sorrow used the Sea Serpent's eye and couldn't see where he was hiding. Therefore, he couldn't take the initiative to attack him. Attacking the puppet doppelganger was the second best choice. What effect can it have against me if you don't even use your unique skill? After being attacked by Night Sorrow, the puppet doppelganger didn't bother to respond. At the same time, its aura suddenly increased. Then, it waved its extremely long claws again. When the golden heavenly halberd collided with these claws, Night Sorrow realized that the puppet doppelganger had already refined its claws to the level of half a step to the Supreme Realm. Although these claws were at a slight disadvantage against the golden heavenly halberd, they could completely resist it and weren't shattered immediately. This was already very strong. Then, the two of them entered a temporary stalemate. Seeing that Night Sorrow and the puppet doppelganger were in a stalemate and couldn't kill it instantly, Xiaowu reminded, "Be careful of the second leader of the blood corpses in the void. I've been guarding against him, but I can't feel his presence at all." While Night Sorrow replied, he continued to attack the puppet doppelganger fiercely. When he attacked with flames, he also added the power of merit. After the power of merit showed its prowess, the puppet doppelganger was instantly afraid of the golden heavenly halberd's attack. Although it was thinking of ways to counterattack, it was still suppressed. Boundless blood. At this moment, the second leader of the blood corpses, who was hiding in the void, suddenly appeared above Night Sorrow and the puppet doppelganger. He stood in the void and summoned a large amount of blood from the blood pool. He sprinkled the blood on the three-eyed silver wolf and the others who were fighting with the blood corpses. No wonder he didn't attack me. It turns out that he was plotting against others. Realizing that the second leader of the blood corpses wasn't his target, Night Sorrow was surprised and worried at the same time. He didn't want his purified friends to be instantly killed by the second leader of the blood corpses. Under such circumstances, he immediately blocked the path of the large amount of blood that was sprinkling down from the void. He used the fiery demon subduing spear. He used a large amount of flames to fight against the sea of blood that the second leader of the blood corpses summoned. You want to stop my sea of blood with just this little bit of flames? Dream on. Facing the fiery demon subduing spear that Night Sorrow used, the second leader of the blood corpses laughed sinisterly. Then, the sea of blood in front of him suddenly became dozens of times bigger. It was like a mountain that was pressing down from the void. The fiery demon subduing spear that Night Sorrow used was completely extinguished in an instant. Seeing that he couldn't stop the sea of blood in front of him, Night Sorrow immediately sent a voice transmission to everyone. All of you, enter my space grotto heaven. I can't stop this sea of blood. If you are buried by the sea of blood, you might never be able to come out. When did this sea of blood appear? When the three-eyed silver wolf heard this, he immediately looked up into the void. At this moment, he realized that the second leader of the blood corpses had summoned the sea of blood and was surprised. Chapter 33:12. It was the same for the other cultivators. They only realized the existence of the blood sea when they heard the warning. Everyone was just like the three-eyed silver wolf. They were all shocked. However, they did not resist and allowed Night Sorrow to suck them into the space grotto heaven. Do you think it's useful to keep them in your space grotto heaven? I can catch all of you in one fell swoop. The second leader of the Blood Evil organization watched as Night Sorrow sucked everyone into the space grotto heaven. With a cold laugh, he controlled the blood sea that filled the sky and pressed down on Yishan. The blood sea covered a large area. It was basically impossible to avoid it in this small world. Night Sorrow thought it would be hard to avoid it. Therefore, he used the 9 steps of heaven defying and flew towards the almost empty blood sea. He used the god spear on the blood evil altar. According to his judgment, as long as the altar was destroyed, the second leader of the blood evil organization's strength would be greatly reduced. As long as his strength was reduced, the blood sea was nothing to be afraid of. However, the blood evil altar was the lifeblood of the blood evil organization. Naturally, the second leader of the blood evil organization would not watch Night Sorrow destroy it. Just as Night Sorrow attacked, the puppet that had recovered a little appeared to block the god's spear. Although it was a little difficult to block it and was injured, it successfully protected the altar. Moreover, the blood sea controlled by the second leader of the blood evil organization was already pressing down on him. Night Sorrow did not have time to attack again. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow released his power of virtue again and wrapped it around the green phoenix battle armor. He used the dragon's roar and phoenix's roar against the blood sea. He wanted to use this attack to disperse the blood sea. However, things did not go as he wished. After Night Sorrow used this attack, a small gap was opened in the blood sea for a short period of time. However, it quickly closed up. It did not give Night Sorrow a chance to pass through it. Seeing the blood sea pressing down on him, Xiaowu did not wait for Night Sorrow to speak and controlled the Eternal Divine Tower to attack. However, although the Eternal Divine Tower's attack was very powerful, when it landed on the sea of blood, it was like a boulder thrown into the sea. It stirred up thousands of waves but eventually calmed down. F***CK. Wasn't this blood sea a little strange? Logically speaking, even if it's a half step into the Supreme Realm, it shouldn't be completely immune to our attacks, right? Little Five couldn't accept the fact that his attack didn't have any effect. There should be a way to counter everything. The sea of blood in front of us shouldn't be something that can be dealt with by brute force. Night Sorrow said word by word as he observed the incoming blood sea with the sea serpent's eye. As he spoke, he could clearly see the faces of ghosts in the sea of blood. These ghostly faces looked like they were in extreme pain. They should be the souls that were sealed in the blood sea. Just wait to be swallowed up. See you in the blood sea. At this moment, the second leader of Blood Fiends saw that the Eternal Divine Tower's attack didn't have any effect on blood sea. Suddenly, he began to laugh cruelly. Then, he raised his hands and controlled the sea of blood, directly engulfing the area where Night Sorrow was. Night Sorrow, who had raised his power of merit defense, was actually prepared to be engulfed by the sea of blood. He wasn't flustered at all. After entering the blood sea, he tried his best to stabilize his body and defend his surroundings to prevent any sneak attacks. However, the second leader of Blood Fiends didn't launch any sneak attacks until he reached the bottom of the blood sea and stood on the bloody mud. After standing firm, Night Sorrow saw the second leader of Blood Fiends waiting for him with his puppet doppelganger and over 10 bloody corpses. Seeing Night Sorrow standing firm, The second leader of Blood Fiends laughed sinisterly. Very soon, you will become a member of the Blood Sea. With your addition, the Blood Sea will definitely increase by a lot. Stop dreaming. Do you think you can defeat me here? Standing in the Blood Sea that had an extremely choking smell of blood, Night Sorrow replied coldly. At this moment, he was protected by the power of merit and didn't feel any discomfort. However, he could sense that the aura of the second leader of Blood Fiends and the rest had all strengthened significantly. This should be the enhancement from the Blood Sea. Not only will I defeat you, but I will also defeat those people in your space grotto heaven. All of you will become my food. The second leader of Blood Fiends roared and ordered, Puppet Doppelganger, go and help me kill him directly. Master. The Puppet Doppelganger responded. At the bottom of the Blood Sea, it used its bloody claws and clawed at Night Sorrow. This time, its speed was 3 to 4 times faster than when it was outside, and the strength of its attack was also much stronger. Facing its attack, Night Sorrow didn't have any extra power of merit to use. He could only use the Divine Vitality Trap Array and the 100 Words of Mantra. He reduced its speed. After that, he roared out the Nirvana Heartfire that he had learned from Su Lei. This move mainly targeted the Divine Soul. After it was used, it might not have much effect on the Puppet Doppelganger. However, it drove away all the Divine Souls in the surrounding Blood Sea and made them stay away from the battle area. After driving away these Divine Souls that were sealed in the Blood Sea, Night Sorrow noticed that the strength of the Puppet Doppelganger instantly decreased greatly. It seems that the key to increasing their strength in the Blood Sea is mainly the Divine Souls in the Blood Sea. Night Sorrow, who had blocked the Puppet Doppelganger's attack, transmitted his voice to the many cultivators in the space grotto heaven. At this moment, Little Seven said, Night Sorrow, I have an idea, but it's a little cruel. I don't know if I should do it. Just say it. Night Sorrow said as he fought against the Puppet Doppelganger. I can control the Eternal Divine Tower to collect the Divine Souls in the Blood Sea. But after they are collected, they will become the energy of the Eternal Divine Tower. In other words, they will be completely destroyed. Little Seven explained. Hearing this, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and told the three-eyed silver wolf and the others about this matter. After that, they discussed for a while. The three-eyed silver wolf, as the representative, said, Master, letting the divine souls of so many relatives and friends be destroyed, we will definitely feel uncomfortable in our hearts. But this is a very special moment. If we don't break the Blood Sea, even we will be left here. Therefore, after discussing, we have decided to support Master in collecting them. We will no longer let them be tools to help the evildoers. I think that they themselves should also support us in doing this. The torture they have suffered in the Blood Sea will definitely exceed our imagination. Qing Yun said with a gloomy expression. Although making such a choice was very uncomfortable for everyone. But in the current situation, they could only do this. Alright. After Night Sorrow received the opinions of Qing Yun, the three-eyed silver wolf and the others, he sighed. He ordered, Little Seven, go and do it. Actually, I feel that by doing this, we are also letting them be free. It is no different from expiation. Little Seven said and began to collect the divine souls in the Blood Sea. www. Chapter 33:13. After the Eternal Divine Tower was activated, it absorbed tens of thousands of souls in an instant. Moreover, when the souls in the blood pool discovered that the Eternal Divine Tower could absorb souls, they were like moths that saw fire. All of them rushed over and entered the Eternal Divine Tower. Obviously, this proved Little Seven's words. To them, this was really a relief. Seeing this scene, Qing Yun sighed and said, Looks like it's really as Little Seven said. For them, this is a form of relief. What's going on? The second leader of the Blood Fiends, who originally thought that victory was within his grasp, saw the souls around him being absorbed by the Eternal Divine Tower. He immediately sneered in surprise. Then he could no longer remain calm. He extended the blood-colored scepter in his hand and attacked the Eternal Divine Tower. You want to attack the Eternal Divine Tower? Dream on. Seeing the second leader of the Blood Fiends attacking the Eternal Divine Tower, Night Sorrow immediately held the golden heavenly halberd in his hand and blocked the blood-colored light from the blood-colored scepter. I originally wanted to toy with you, but now it seems that you want to die faster. The second leader of the Blood Fiends roared and completely merged with the Blood Sea. He completely hid in the Blood Sea. I thought you wanted to fight head-on. I didn't expect you to be hiding. Seeing that the second leader of the Blood Fiends had merged with the Blood Sea, Night Sorrow immediately used the Sea Serpent's eye to observe. But he couldn't see through him. After all, the second leader of the Blood Fiends was born in the Blood Pool and was naturally one with the Blood Sea. It's not up to you whether I'm hiding or not. After hiding, the second leader of the Blood Fiends continued, puppet clones, countless blood corpses, blood-colored cultivators. Become one with me. After he gave the order, the puppet clones all dissolved into blood water and poured into the blood pool. After absorbing the energy they provided, the second leader of the Blood Fiends immediately controlled the power of the Blood Sea to attack the Eternal Divine Tower. At this moment, the Eternal Divine Tower had already absorbed hundreds of thousands of souls under Little Seven's control. Facing the pressure of the blood water around him, he immediately set up a defensive layer as his own defense. After summoning the defensive layer, the Eternal Divine Tower was temporarily very safe. After the second leader of the Blood Evil organization merged with the Blood Sea, his attacks naturally became more secretive. He could use the blood water to attack. However, there were pros and cons. His attack power was obviously much lower. All of you have been in the Blood Evil organization before. Can anyone tell me what I should do in this situation? Night Sorrow had no idea where to start as the second leader of the Blood Evil organization had merged with the Blood. At this moment, Xingyun replied, there's no need to rush. The second leader of the Blood Evil organization would reappear. When the time comes, we just need to defeat him. The three-eyed silver wolf reminded, after the second leader of the Blood Evil organization reappears, his strength will increase by a lot. Master, you must be careful. In addition, if Master needs assistance, you can absorb our divine essence energy at any time. I got it. Hearing this, Night Sorrow more or less understood what the second leader of the Blood Evil organization was plotting. He obviously wanted to use the cover of the Sea of Blood to merge with the puppet doppelganger. He raised his strength to the maximum. He was more or less relieved. After the other party fused, the situation became much simpler. As long as he could destroy it, all the problems would be solved. So, just as Night Sorrow was replying to the three-eyed silver wolf, sharp blades formed by the blood suddenly appeared in the Sea of Blood and shot towards Night Sorrow. These sharp blades included sabers, spears, swords, halberds, hatchets, hooks, and forks. After they appeared, they immediately gave Night Sorrow a lot of pressure, because he realized that these attacks were at the level of half-step to extreme state and were not easy to deal with. While using 9 heaven-defying steps to dodge, he waved the golden heavenly halberd to resist. After resisting for a while, Night Sorrow realized that the golden heavenly halberd had cracks on it. A weapon formed by blood is actually so powerful? Realizing that the golden heavenly halberd had cracks on it, Night Sorrow was surprised. At the same time, he saw that the Eternal Divine Tower had also encountered a similar attack. The second leader of the Blood Evil organization could control the entire Sea of Blood and could use the blood to create weapons at will to exhaust them. At this moment, Little Seven transmitted a message. Night Sorrow, we can't continue to be attacked like this. We might not be able to hold on. I think that if we continue to stay in the Sea of Blood, we might continue to be attacked like this. Let's think of a way to leave the Sea of Blood. Night Sorrow replied and kept the Eternal Divine Tower in his grotto heaven, no longer allowing it to absorb souls. He used the 9 steps of defiance of the heavens and soared straight up to the surface of the Blood Sea. It's not as easy as you think to escape from the Sea of Blood. The second leader of the Blood Evil organization sneered when he realized that Night Sorrow wanted to leave the Sea of Blood. Then, his figure appeared again, and he blocked Night Sorrow's escape route. Night Sorrow used the Sea Serpent's eye to take a look and realized that the second leader of the Blood Evil organization in front of him had indeed improved a lot. Obviously, he had completely completed the fusion. He pointed at the other party with the golden heavenly halberd and said, "I originally thought that you wouldn't come out so soon. Since you've come out, I'll kill you. I'm afraid you don't have the ability to kill me." As the second leader of the Blood Evil organization spoke, he raised his hand and summoned countless divine weapons to attack Night Sorrow. These divine weapons were obviously more powerful than the previous ones. Even the golden heavenly halberd couldn't block them. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow immediately ignited his Phoenix bloodline and Jialin bloodline. After igniting the two bloodlines, Night Sorrow's aura was further enhanced. He waved his hand and shot a true Phoenix fire at the second leader of the Blood Evil organization. "Your bloodline is not bad, but it's not powerful enough." Facing Night Sorrow's true Phoenix fire, the second leader of the Blood Evil organization, who controlled thousands of divine weapons, mocked him and summoned a blood-red barrier to block it. After successfully blocking Night Sorrow's attack, the second leader of the Blood Evil organization sneered. "You can be proud of yourself for fighting me to this extent with your cultivation of a lower heavenly sovereign. But everything for you is about to end. Accept your fate." As soon as he finished speaking, the second leader of the Blood Evil organization merged all the summoned divine weapons together and formed a blood-red longsword. He placed it on the top of the blood-red scepter and slashed it at Night Sorrow. This attack brought about an endless blood-red glow. Its power was something that Night Sorrow had never encountered before. After observing it with the Sea Serpent's eye, Night Sorrow confirmed that this move had reached the peak of the half-step to the Supreme Realm. This level of attack was obviously beyond his current limit. He shouldn't be able to block it no matter what. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow frowned and said, "It seems that I have to use that move to block it. www. Chapter 33:14. 1 second to remember love on /u reading /bookwonderful, no pop-up window free reading. Which move? Can you block an attack of this level? Seeing that the second leader of the Blood Evil organization's attack was so powerful, Xiaowu asked through telepathy, "If you can't block it, you can use the Eternal Divine Tower to block it. Although we will be heavily injured, we will not be destroyed. After all, our essence is Supreme Class Divine Artifact. No need, I still have a way." The situation was critical and Night Sorrow did not have time to explain further. After a simple reply, he ignited the Leaken bloodline hidden in his body. This was the bloodline from the Supreme Class. Originally, Night Sorrow did not want to use it as he was afraid that the other party would have a backup plan that would be disadvantageous to him. But now, if he did not completely activate it, he would not be able to block the attack of the second leader of the Blood Evil organization. He would die here. The people on the island would die in the hands of the Blood Evil Old Demon. The Eternal Supreme World and the Eternal Ancient Desolate World would be completely destroyed. Everything would end. He had no other choice. After igniting the Leaken bloodline, Night Sorrow's eyes flashed with a bloodthirsty light. He could not help but roar. At the same time, Night Sorrow's aura became more than 10 times stronger in an instant. The second leader of the Blood Evil organization's fatal attack also became much slower in his eyes. In terms of power, it did not seem so terrifying anymore. In the process of dodging, he waited until his aura gradually stabilized. Night Sorrow roared and raised the golden heavenly halberd. Using all his strength, he slashed towards the saber of the second leader of the Blood Evil organization. According to his judgment, the material of the golden heavenly halberd was definitely not inferior to the opponent's saber. His own strength should be about the same. The second leader of the Blood Evil organization was also confident in himself. Although Night Sorrow's aura had increased a lot in an instant, he still felt that he would win. Thus, the two divine weapons violently clashed together. Buzz. A muffled sound was heard. After Night Sorrow and the second leader of the Blood Evil organization collided, the huge shock wave almost evaporated the surrounding blood sea. Night Sorrow and the second-in-command of Blood Fiends flew backward at the same time. At the same time, the two of them were shocked to find that neither of them could withstand the shockwaves from the collision. A moment later, Night Sorrow lay on the ground in a sorry state. It was unknown how many of his bones were broken, and the flesh on his body was badly mangled. Even his dantian was severely injured. If not for the fact that Zhang Xian had used his power of virtue to envelop his dantian at the very last moment, his dantian would have been crippled. Not far away, Bloody Malevolence's second leader was not much better off. Even his stooped body had straightened quite a bit from the impact. The injuries on his body were similar to Night Sorrow's. Under such circumstances, he had already lost the ability to turn into blood. This shockwave is too terrifying. Seeing Night Sorrow and the second leader of the Blood Malevolence being bombarded into such a state, Xiaowu, who was in the space paradise, said with lingering fear, "Even if the Eternal Divine Tower were to receive such an attack, it would still be damaged beyond recognition. It's all right. It didn't kill me instantly, so there's still a chance." Night Sorrow said. Then he released Three-Eyed Silver Wolf, Qin Yun, and the rest. He said, "While Bloody Malevolence's second leader is severely injured, help me kill him. Master, rest well and leave this guy to us." Hearing this, Three-Eyed Silver Wolf did not hesitate and rushed toward Bloody Malevolence's second leader. Bloody Malevolence's second leader did not have any helpers by his side. It looked like the situation was one-sided. However, Qin Yun suddenly saw a trace of disdain in Bloody Malevolence's second leader's eyes. "Oh no, everyone be careful." After noticing Bloody Malevolence's second leader's disdain and calmness, Qin Yun reminded everyone immediately. "Who cares? Let's attack him first." At this moment, Xiaowu was controlling the Eternal Divine Tower to attack Bloody Malevolence's second leader. Seeing the Eternal Divine Tower's attack coming toward him, Bloody Malevolence's second leader was not shocked. Instead, he laughed. He let out a dry laugh and stood up from the ground. Looking at the altar, he silently chanted a mysterious incantation. After a moment, the altar suddenly shot a ray of bloody light toward Bloody Malevolence's second leader. Being nourished by the bloody light, Bloody Malevolence's second leader's injuries recovered instantly. After recovering, he immediately held the bloody scepter in his hand and clashed with the Eternal Divine Tower's attack. He successfully blocked the Eternal Divine Tower's attack. Seeing Bloody Malevolence's second leader recover so quickly with the help of the altar's power and unleash such a low-grade attack, Three-Eyed Silver Wolf, Qin Yun, and the rest were all dumbfounded. Because this level of attack was obviously from a half-step to Supreme Realm. They could not withstand it at all. Asking them to kill Bloody Malevolence's second leader was simply courting death. "What should we do? Bloody Malevolence's second leader has the help of the altar. We can't deal with him." Three-Eyed Silver Wolf sighed. Then he suddenly made up his mind and shouted, "Our lives were saved by Master. No matter what, Master is our hope. Even if we have to risk our lives, we must protect him." After saying that, he attacked Bloody Malevolence's second leader from afar. Influenced by Three-Eyed Silver Wolf, the other cultivators also attacked Bloody Malevolence's second leader. Although they knew that they were no match for him, they did not want to be captured without a fight. At the same time, they were also looking forward to a miracle. However, reality was cruel. After they launched their attack, Bloody Malevolence's second leader flew into a rage. Sinister Chi said, "Today, you've caused the blood pool to lose so much blood. Then, turn all of it into blood and fill the blood pool for me." After saying that, he attacked Three-Eyed Silver Wolf and the rest. Facing this attack, they were a little flustered. At the critical moment, Little Five controlled the Eternal Divine Tower to attack again. This attack successfully dissolved Bloody Malevolence's second leader's attack. It could be considered as saving Three-Eyed Silver Wolf, who bore the brunt of the attack. Let's see how many times your divine weapon can launch such an attack." After the attack was blocked by the Eternal Divine Tower, Bloody Malevolence's second leader's brows became extremely cold. Then he launched the same attack as before. This time, Little Five could only look at the attack and sigh. He reminded, the Eternal Divine Tower has no more energy. I can't block this attack. Hurry and disperse to prevent more casualties. Disperse. Everyone disperse. Hearing Little Five's reminder, Three-Eyed Silver Wolf immediately roared to remind them. Actually, even without his reminder, everyone knew that the attack of Bloody Malevolence's second leader was not something they could take head-on. They all spread out in this small world. Haha. All of you have to die, all of you have to die. Seeing that everyone had started to dodge, Bloody Malevolence's second leader laughed extremely cruelly. Chapter 33:15. Damn it! The Three-Eyed Silver Wolf roared indignantly when the second leader of the Blood Fiends laughed so exaggeratedly. However, he didn't dare to stay any longer as he was afraid of being hit by the second leader of the Blood Fiends' attack. He transformed into a wolf and fled continuously. After all, he would definitely die if he was hit by an attack from someone who was half a step to the Supreme State. He deserves to die. He deserves to be hacked into pieces. But we can't do it. Qing Yun also roared. She was also indignant, but she didn't have the ability to fight back. The second leader of the Blood Fiends was obviously a level higher than them. They couldn't threaten him. The other cultivators were similar. They were like a flock of sheep being chased by a ferocious tiger as they fled continuously. The second leader of the Blood Fiends was like a ferocious tiger as he attacked everyone continuously. No one was willing to admit defeat, but no one was a match for him. They could only flee passively. I can't accept this. We lost just like that. I can't accept this. Little Five also roared angrily. At this moment, Little Seven suddenly asked, "Where did Night Sorrow go? Why is he missing? Did something happen to him? He's missing?" Hearing this, Little Five realized that the severely injured Night Sorrow had disappeared. Little Five immediately sent a voice transmission. "Night Sorrow, where did you go? Are you in danger?" However, he didn't receive any response even after sending a voice transmission for a long time. Little Five said to Little Seven and the rest, "Oh no. I sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow, but there's no response at all. What's going on? Anything can happen to anyone, but Yi Shan absolutely can't." Little Eight said worriedly and continued, "Let's hurry and find him in case anything happens to him. After all, he was severely injured just now." "Alright, let's hurry and find him. Nothing can happen to Night Sorrow." Little Seven agreed. Boom. At this moment, the attack of the second leader of the Blood Fiends landed on the Eternal Divine Tower, sending it flying. Little Five, Little Seven, and the others were temporarily knocked unconscious by this shock. Because of this, the Eternal Divine Tower fell to the ground, not to mention searching for Night Sorrow's traces. He watched as the Eternal Divine Tower was heavily damaged and fell to the ground. The second leader of the Blood Evil organization temporarily gave up on attacking the others. He flew over from the void and said with a sinister smile, "Hee hee. Another half-step Supreme Stage Divine Artifact. If I collect more and purify the materials, I might be able to synthesize a true Supreme Class Divine Artifact." As he spoke, he prepared to put the Eternal Divine Tower into his own space. "Bastard. Master's Divine Artifact is not something you can touch." Seeing that the second leader of the Blood Fiends wanted to take the Eternal Divine Tower, the Three-Eyed Silver Wolf let out a loud roar and pounced towards him. "Ant-like thing, are you courting death? I'll fulfill your wish." The second leader of the Blood Fiends, who had wanted to take the Eternal Divine Tower, was enraged when he saw the Three-Eyed Silver Wolf attacking him. He struck at the Three-Eyed Silver Wolf. "Three Eyes, be careful." Qing Yun's pupils constricted when she saw the second leader of the Blood Fiends unleashing a half-step Supreme Stage attack. However, she did not have the ability to help at all and could only be anxious. It was the same for the other cultivators present. They all realized that the Three-Eyed Silver Wolf could not dodge this attack and would be killed. However, they could not help at all, because with their speed, even if they attacked, they would not be able to stop the second leader of the Blood Fiends. "Oh no, I can't dodge this attack at all. The three-eyed silver wolf only woke up from his impulsiveness when he faced the attack of the second leader of the blood fiends. At this moment, he was more desperate than anyone else present. While the others were grieving for him, he had completely given up resisting. However, he did not regret it, because even if he did not rush up now, he would definitely be played to death by the second leader of the blood fiends. Because Night Sorrow was not around, the second leader of the blood fiends became an existence that no one could check. He could wreak havoc here as he wished. Why aren't you fighting back or resisting? Are you prepared to die? Seeing that the three-eyed silver wolf had no intention of fighting back, the second leader of the blood fiends mocked him in disdain. He waved his blood-colored scepter at it. He was prepared to smash the three-eyed silver wolf's head. At this moment, as a female cultivator, Qing Yun even closed her eyes and did not dare to watch anymore. She was afraid to see the scene of the three-eyed silver wolf's head being smashed. It should be you who is prepared to die, right? At this moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded in the void. After that, a figure suddenly blocked in front of the three-eyed silver wolf and shot a fierce shot at the second leader of the blood fiends. What? You've actually fully recovered? How is this possible? This is absolutely impossible. The second leader of the blood fiends, who originally thought that he would definitely kill the three-eyed silver wolf, was surprised when he saw the figure in front of him. Because the figure in front of him was Night Sorrow, who had fully recovered. Not only had his injuries healed, but even his aura had also completely recovered. The second leader of the blood fiends did not believe that Night Sorrow could completely recover in such a short period of time. At the moment when he was absent-minded, he was sent flying by a blow. There are many things that are impossible, but when it comes to me, nothing is impossible. After sending the second leader of the blood fiends flying, Night Sorrow kept the three-eyed silver wolf and the eternal divine tower into the space grotto heaven, allowing them to completely escape from danger. He looked at the others and said, "Everyone, you've worked hard. Thank you for helping me to hold him back. Otherwise, no matter how strong my recovery ability is, I won't be able to recover." Amazing! He's really fully recovered. Even his aura has recovered to its peak state. The second leader of the blood fiends is dead for sure. We're saved. The eternal ancient desolate world is saved. After confirming that Night Sorrow had completely recovered, Qing Yun was so excited that she even cried out. She could not help but cheer. Under her influence, the other cultivators also became excited. Originally, they all thought that they would be tortured to death by the second leader of the blood fiends. They did not expect Night Sorrow to recover so quickly. You've actually recovered to your peak state. How did you do that? After confirming that Night Sorrow had completely recovered, the second leader of the blood fiends asked in disbelief. Back then, he had relied on the power of the altar to successfully recover. This power was irreversible and he could only use it once. If Night Sorrow had the ability to continuously recover, then today his ending would have been decided. Hearing the second leader of the blood fiends question, Night Sorrow sneered and said, "Of course, I relied on the power of the bloodline to successfully recover. Prepare to die. As long as you can't kill me in one hit today, I'll be able to kill you and destroy the altar." After saying that, Night Sorrow did not give the second leader of the blood fiends any chance to react. He attacked him with a flaming blow. Chapter 33:16. You relied on the power of your bloodline to recover? Could it be that your bloodline is at the level of the supreme bloodline? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the second leader of blood malevolence roared in surprise. At the same time, he waved his blood-colored scepter and struck out a blow that emitted a bloody light, blocking Night Sorrow's attack. It's the supreme bloodline. But are you scared? Night Sorrow did not lie to the second leader of blood malevolence. The main reason for his recovery was naturally the bloodline that he had inherited from the Leaken Supreme. The recovery ability of this Leaken bloodline was simply heaven-defying. Even Night Sorrow himself was surprised that he could recover so quickly after being injured to such an extent and almost dying. However, He did not know that the reason why he could recover so quickly was also related to the Phoenix bloodline in his body. It was the combination of the Lycan bloodline and the Phoenix bloodline that allowed his originally strong body to have such a heaven-defying recovery ability. At the end of the day, it had a very important connection with his many years of accumulation. At this moment, Night Sorrow's aura was at its peak. He did not even carefully keep many of the cultivators present in his space grotto heaven. He attacked the second leader of blood malevolence again. This time, he struck out a very basic attack again. However, at the same time, he struck out a merit trap array at the second leader of blood malevolence. It's the power of merit again. Seeing Night Sorrow strike with the power of merit, the second leader of blood malevolence was instantly enraged. He was very wary of the power of merit. However, he had no choice. In order to prevent Night Sorrow from piercing his body, he waved the blood-colored scepter in his hand and destroyed the merit trap array. Just as the second leader of blood malevolence destroyed the merit trap array, Night Sorrow also stopped his attack. Suddenly, he used his movement technique and quickly flew in the direction of the blood malevolence altar. After getting close, he struck the divine shot at the blood-colored altar. The divine shot this time was the strongest attack that Night Sorrow could unleash. Oh no! What a cunning thing! The second leader of blood malevolence, who did not expect Night Sorrow to give up on him to attack the altar at such a moment when his momentum was at its peak, instantly cried out in surprise when he regained his senses. At the same time, he used his blood-red scepter to unleash his strongest attack towards Night Sorrow. He wanted to besiege Wei to rescue Zhao, because he knew that it was impossible to stop Night Sorrow's attack. Boom! Not long after the second leader of Blood Fiend launched his attack, Night Sorrow's attack landed on the Blood Fiend altar. After being struck by Night Sorrow's divine spear, the Blood Fiend altar didn't seem to suffer any damage. But in truth, its blood-red protective layer had dimmed by a great deal. Just then, Qing Yun, who saw the second leader of Bloodlust attacking Night Sorrow, reminded him loudly, "Be careful. Don't worry. If I can think of attacking the altar, I can also think of him attacking me." At the same time, Night Sorrow used the 100 Words mantra to increase his speed. Then, he used the 9 defiant steps and successfully dodged the attack. This caused the blood-red scepter's attack to fly directly towards the sky. The moment the blood-red scepter brushed past him, Night Sorrow flew towards the second leader of blood malevolence again with the golden heavenly halberd, which was half a step to supreme class. And he used the extreme flame phantom. The second leader of blood malevolence, who had lost his blood-red scepter, wanted to summon his divine weapon back, but it was too late. Under such circumstances, he suddenly turned his body into blood water and scattered it in the air to dodge Night Sorrow's attack. "I knew you would do this." The second leader of blood malevolence turned his body into blood water and scattered it in the air. Night Sorrow immediately used the Nirvana Heart Fire that he had learned from Su Lei. This move immediately caused the second leader of blood malevolence, who had turned into blood water, to scatter further. Then, he used the descent of all evil that he had learned from Whirling Lady. At this moment, the second leader of blood malevolence's body had turned into blood water and scattered it in the air. He had no way of dodging such a large-scale attack. He was directly hit by the descent of all evil. When the second leader of blood malevolence turned into a human again and held the blood-red scepter in his hand, his blood-red body was already covered with black misfortune. Is this the curse from above? Realizing that he was plagued by misfortune, the second leader of blood malevolence instantly roared. "This is a curse that will take your life. I still need to go back and kill the blood malevolence old demon and the rest. You have delayed long enough. It's time for you to welcome death." Night Sorrow's words were like a judgment that nailed the second leader of blood malevolence. "Even if I, Blood Pool, die, I won't let you destroy the altar." At this moment, the second leader of blood malevolence finally admitted his real name. He was a holy spirit that was born in the blood pool, and his name was Blood Pool. "Blood Pool, you will die, and you won't be able to protect the altar." With that, Night Sorrow began to suppress the blood pool once more. At this moment, the second leader of blood malevolence, Blood Pool, was plagued by misfortune. He was extremely unlucky during the battle. Under such circumstances, he no longer had the ability to fight against Night Sorrow. Originally, his plan was to kill all the cultivators present and then perish together with Night Sorrow. However, after fighting for about an hour, he didn't kill a single cultivator. Moreover, he was continuously suppressed by Night Sorrow and was forced to retreat. In the end, the blessing that the altar gave him completely disappeared, and Blood Pool was also pierced through by Night Sorrow's spear. Leave him to us. Little Five, who had woken up after Yishang had killed Shuema, immediately blurted out, "All right, absorb him in and convert him into energy to repair the Eternal Divine Tower." Night Sorrow said and summoned the Eternal Divine Tower from the Space Grotto Heaven, while Xiaowu was controlling the Eternal Divine Tower to absorb Blood Pool. Night Sorrow held the Golden Heavenly Halberd and started attacking the Blood Malevolence altar. At this moment, on a faraway island, Old Demon Blood Malevolence had led his subordinates to successfully break the array set up by the Eternal Supreme World and the Eternal Ancient Desolate World. They faced everyone on the island directly. Under such circumstances, Supreme Longevity and the Coiling Dragon Spear led their men to block Old Demon Blood Malevolence and the others. "Ha! You only have a few heavenly sovereigns here. The rest are all ants below the Earth sovereign level. With such strength, you still dare to block me?" Seeing that there were only a few heavenly sovereigns in the team led by Supreme Longevity, the rest were mostly Earth sovereigns. Old Demon Blood Malevolence said disdainfully, "When we fight, it's a competition of strength, not cultivation. Although your subordinates are all heavenly sovereigns, their combat strength might not be stronger than our Earth sovereigns. We will only know who is stronger after the battle." Facing Old Demon Blood Malevolence, Supreme Longevity didn't back down. However, at the same time, he transmitted his voice to the people behind him. "The Blood Malevolence organization's strength is far stronger than we expected. Everyone behind, get ready to move." Chapter 33:17. Facing Old Demon Blood Demon and more than 200 heavenly sovereigns, Supreme Longevity was a hero of his generation. But he was powerless. Moreover, he knew that even though he said he wanted the people behind to move, where could they move to? The Eternal Supreme World had already fallen. The Eternal Ancient Barren World was basically in Blood Demon's pocket. Where could the old, weak, and sick people of the Eternal Supreme World and Eternal Ancient Barren World be moved to? At this moment, he could only hope that a miracle would happen. He thought to himself, "I wonder how Yishang is doing with that matter. If he can quickly destroy the Blood Fiend altar, we might still have a chance. If he can't, I'm afraid the people will be in a terrible situation." "Ha! Supreme Longevity, you're still so stubborn even at this point. This is meaningless." Old Demon Blood Demon scanned the situation on the island with his soul power and confirmed that the two worlds were not hiding their strength. It was because their team only had so many heavenly sovereigns. Victory was in his hands. "If you are willing to join my Blood Demon organization, I can consider leaving some seats for you and select some talented people to join. I won't kill all of you. Cut the crap. Old Demon Blood Demon. No one in our two worlds will submit to the Blood Demon organization. If you want to fight, come." Su Lei, who was looking at Old Demon Blood Demon with hatred, shouted coldly. Her entire kingdom had been killed by the Blood Demon organization. Her hatred for Old Demon Blood Demon could no longer be described with words. Aren't you the Empress who fought for us even after her kingdom was destroyed? Are you so angry that you want to kill me?" After Old Demon Blood Demon saw Su Lei clearly, he immediately recognized her identity and provoked her coldly. "You deserve to die." Although Su Lei knew that she was no match for Old Demon Blood Demon, she was still infuriated. Immediately, she took out her half-step ultimate class divine artifact and attacked. "Ha! You overestimate yourself. But a half-step ultimate class divine artifact is not bad." After Su Lei attacked, Old Demon Blood Demon mocked her and attacked her. "Su Lei, you deal with the others." Leave old demon blood demon to me. Seeing old demon blood demon attacking Su Lei, Supreme Longevity immediately raised his coiling dragon spear and stood in front of old demon blood demon, fighting him. You will die in my hands. Su Lei, who was stopped by Supreme Longevity, shouted at old demon blood fiend. Then, he turned around and attacked the other members of the Blood Fiend organization. At this time, there were not many experts in the Blood Evil organization who could go against Su Lei. After the battle broke out, Su Lei quickly killed 2 to 3 heavenly sovereigns from the Blood Evil organization. Seeing Su Lei's performance, old demon blood demon immediately transmitted his voice. Blood Fox, go and kill that Su Lei. In case she continues to act violently. Patriarch, the cultivator of the Blood Evil organization known as the Snow Fox received the order and immediately went to stop Su Lei. They were locked in a stalemate. As for Supreme Longevity and the Coiling Dragon Spear, they were able to hold their own against old demon blood fiend at first. However, after fighting for an hour, they gradually could not keep up with old demon blood fiend's speed. Old demon blood fiend, who had already shown his speed when he was chasing Night Sorrow, had an extremely high talent in speed. Using this advantage, he quickly restrained Supreme Longevity and the Coiling Dragon Spear. He was not in a hurry to take advantage of the two, because the Blood Evil organization currently had a more obvious advantage in the overall battle situation. Although there were many cultivators in the Eternal Supreme World and Eternal Ancient Desolate World, the number of top fighters was pitifully small. After all, Su Lei could already be ranked in the top 3 here. Under the collective attack of more than 200 heavenly sovereigns from the Blood Evil organization, the cultivators of the 2 worlds were gradually forced to retreat. The battle strength of the 2 worlds is indeed only so. If I had known, I would have killed you all a few months ago. Seeing that his subordinates had successfully suppressed the cultivators of the 2 worlds and even killed some of them, old demon blood fiend, who was locked in a stalemate with Supreme Longevity and the Coiling Dragon Spear, laughed proudly. At this moment, he had not even unleashed 70% of his strength. Seeing the cultivators of the 2 worlds being forced to retreat again and again, Supreme Longevity was anxious in his heart. When the cultivators had retreated to a certain extent, they could already see the commoners as far as their eyes could see. Supreme Longevity roared, "Cultivators of the 2 worlds, hear my command. From now on, we would rather die in battle than retreat even half a step. Protect our home with our lives. Protect our home with our lives. Protect our home with our lives." After Supreme Longevity came out, the cultivators of the 2 worlds in battle instantly roared together. In an instant, their morale increased by a lot. After that, the battle became even more intense. The cultivators of the 2 worlds, who had sworn to not retreat, all took out a desperate attitude. They often exchanged blood for blood, death for death, and fought to the death with the cultivators of the Blood Evil organization. After fighting for 2 hours in such an environment, close to 100 cultivators from the 2 realms had perished, and more than 30 cultivators of the Blood Evil organization had also been killed. The battle situation was extremely tragic. At this point in the battle, although the cultivators of the 2 worlds had sworn to not retreat, there were too many injured and could not withstand the attacks of the cultivators of the Blood Evil organization. Seeing that the cultivators of the 2 worlds could not hold on any longer, Supreme Chongqing immediately transmitted his voice to the cultivators at the rear. "Send everyone to the 80 warships that we have prepared. Let everyone leave using the teleportation portal. Then run for your lives. Remember, let Night Sorrow's family leave first." Lord Longevity. The person in charge of the retreat at the rear was the 2nd Deputy City Lord of the God World territory. After receiving Supreme Longevity's order, he knew that the front line could not hold on any longer. He immediately gathered his subordinates and let them arrange for the commoners, women, and children of the 2 worlds to board the prepared 80 warships. He personally went to invite Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei. After seeing the 2 women, the 2nd Deputy City Lord immediately said, "Madams, now that the island has been destroyed, the people of the Blood Evil organization will be here soon. I will bring you to the teleportation portal, and you leave first. This is also our promise to Night Sorrow. Now that the battle has reached its climax, although the two of us are women, but we can't be the first to desert. Otherwise, it will be a disgrace to my husband's name. We choose to fight side by side with everyone. Hearing this, Wu Lingfei immediately rejected. Jing Yun also had a determined look in her eyes. We are not leaving. We are Earth Supremes, and we have half-step Supreme Realm Divine artifacts. We definitely have the power to fight. Deputy City Lord, go and arrange for the others to leave. We will go to the front line and fight now. Before the battle started, they were prepared to leave immediately if anything happened. But seeing the cultivators of the two worlds fighting so fiercely, their fighting spirit also rose in their hearts. Chapter 33:18. Moreover, Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei knew that as long as the threat of the Blood Fiends and the Heaven-Deceiving tribe was not eliminated, they had nowhere to run. Instead of running away aimlessly, they might as well stake everything and fight to the death with the Blood Fiends. That way, even if they died in battle, they would die with dignity. It was better than dying while being chased. Don't be rash. Where there's life, there's hope. If you two ladies can use the teleportation portal to escape. If you see Night Sorrow, you'll definitely have a chance of survival. Don't make unnecessary sacrifices. Moreover, Madame Wu is pregnant with a child. Even if you don't think about yourself, you have to think about Night Sorrow's child. At this level, being pregnant is definitely a gift from the heavens. You must cherish it. When the second Deputy City Lord heard the words of the two women, he immediately tried his best to persuade them. Deputy City Lord, you don't have to persuade them. Our friends will fight to the death. We should do the same. As for my child, if he knows my choice, he will also support me. Since Night Sorrow started cultivating, he has been fighting to stop fighting. His child should not be afraid of the baptism of war. Wu Lingfei said in a resounding voice. Then, she took out the half-step Supreme Realm Extreme Flame Phoenix Golden Shuttle that Night Sorrow had made and handed it to the second Deputy City Lord. This is the Extreme Flame Phoenix Golden Shuttle that my husband made. It's extremely fast. It can take some people away first. Deputy City Lord, take it? Take some people with potential and leave first. What should we do? Seeing how determined Wu Lingfei was, the second Deputy City Lord was helpless. His and the first Deputy City Lord's lives were saved by Night Sorrow. If it weren't for Night Sorrow, they would have been trapped in the Grotto Heaven and died. They were actually very grateful to him. Now that Wu Lingfei and Jing Yun had chosen to fight to the death, he suddenly felt sorry for Night Sorrow. But it was obvious that the beautiful ladies couldn't be persuaded at all. He didn't know what to do. At this time, Supreme Longevity and Old Demon Blood Fiend were locked in a fierce battle. It was not suitable for him to send a voice transmission to ask for a solution. Deputy City Lord, don't be troubled. Although we are women, we are all Earth Supremes and have good talent. We can fight. You don't have to worry. Seeing the Vice City Lord frowning, Jing Yun immediately tried to persuade him. At this moment, she glanced at the battle situation. The battle between the two sides had already reached its climax. The cultivators of the two batches led by the Supreme Longevity were already finding it harder and harder to hold on. Jing Yun was, after all, someone who had been through hundreds of battles. She was well aware of the logic of a defeated army collapsing like a landslide. She immediately turned to Wu Lingfei and said, "Big sister, let's go and fight. There were less than 200 enemies left. If we kill one, we can reduce the pressure to a certain extent." "Good. Let's go." Wu Lingfei responded and stood beside Jing Yun. She was ready to fly up into the sky and join the battle. Alas! Seeing that the two women were unable to dissuade him, the Vice City Lord sighed. "Since that's the case, this old man will first arrange for the evacuation of the others. If the old, weak, women and children are left behind, the consequences will be unimaginable if the front line can't hold on. Vice City Lord, I'll leave their safety to you. Jing Yun looked at the panicked crowd and thanked the Vice City Lord. Then, she flew into the sky side by side with Wu Lingfei and joined the battlefield. She attacked one of the Blood Fiend cultivators who was fighting with Murong Jinlu. Under the joint attack of the three, this Blood Fiend Heavenly Sovereign was quickly killed by Jing Yun's Extreme Flame Phoenix Golden Umbrella. Why you guys here? Quickly run, we can't let Brother Yi down. When the battle in front of them ended, Murong Jinlu immediately advised with a frown. At this time, Yuan Fengxue and Xue Changtian also looked over. Yuan Fengxue persuaded in the middle of the battle, Lingfei, you're pregnant, don't force yourself. Quickly leave with everyone. Fengxue, you don't have to persuade us. Since the two of us came, we're already prepared to die in battle. We're a team, Jing Yun, and I can't abandon you guys and leave. Wu Lingfei replied and growled, everyone, let's fight side by side. Since you guys don't want to leave, then we'll fight side by side. At this time, the Myriad Sword sect who had just killed a Blood Fiend Heavenly Sovereign also flew over. He glanced at Jing Yun, then at Wu Lingfei and roared. Alright, then let's fight together. Immediately after, Xiao Tianxian, Jin Xian, and the others also gathered. They had all fought together before. Then, they used a joint attack formation together and fought with the cultivators of the Blood Fiend organization. After they used the joint attack formation, the battle with the Blood Fiend cultivators instantly became much easier. Compared to these Blood Fiend cultivators, although they were at a disadvantage in terms of cultivation, after all, each of them had a divine artifact left behind by Night Sorrow. This was enough to erase some of the differences. The addition of Yi Shang's two wives could actually bring about such a huge change in the battle. Supreme Longevity, who was in the middle of the battle, discovered that Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei had joined the battle and cooperated so well with the Myriad Sword sect. Using the joint attack formation, they quickly killed several Blood Fiend cultivators and immediately exclaimed in surprise. At this time, the cultivators of the two batches saw this scene and were immediately encouraged. Their bodies seemed to have been injected with a lot of energy, and they fought even more fiercely. How did the addition of two women change the battle so much? Old Demon Blood Fiend, who was fighting Supreme Longevity, noticed the sudden change in the battle and immediately looked at Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei with a frown. After observing for a while, he thought to himself, so they're using a joint attack formation. This won't do, I have to break them up. With that in mind, Old Demon Blood Fiend increased his aura while fighting Supreme Longevity, and suddenly slammed a palm toward where Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei were fighting. He was planning to use their joint attack formation to heavily injure the two batches. Oh no! Jing Yun, Wu Lingfei, be careful. When Supreme Longevity noticed Old Demon Blood Fiend's palm strike toward them, it was already too late to stop him. He immediately warned them. Sister, dodge. I'll block this attack. At this time, Jing Yun reminded Wu Lingfei to use the Extreme Flame Phoenix Golden Umbrella to block this move. Seeing this, Paragon Eternal Life roared, this won't do. You can't block it, dodge. Dodge now. He could tell that although Jing Yun's half-step Supreme Realm Divine artifact was of good quality, it definitely couldn't block Old Demon Blood Fiend's full-powered attack. After all, a divine artifact was a divine artifact, and there was still a gap between it and a cultivator's body. Can't block it? Hearing Supreme Longevity's words, Jing Yun was immediately stunned. In fact, she didn't know how powerful an attack from a half-step Supreme Realm expert was. Against this attack, the Extreme Flame Phoenix Golden Umbrella might not be damaged much, but she would definitely be heavily injured by the aftershock. www. Chapter 33:19. Love, Shang / reading /book, web wonderful, no pop-up window free reading. What should we do? What should we do? Seeing that Jing Yun's life was in danger, even the ambitious and ruthless Longevity Supremacy felt helpless. He had promised Night Sorrow that he would ensure the safety of the two women. However, everything that was happening before his eyes made him feel helpless. He wanted to save them, but he didn't have the ability to do so. He could only vent his anger by attacking Blood Demon Old Demon. Blood Demon Old Demon's attack was irreversible, and it didn't stop at all. Xiao Tianxian, Myriad Sword Sect, and the others attacked with all their might, wanting to help defend against Blood Demon Old Demon's attack. However, it was too late. After all, Blood Demon Old Demon's attack was extremely fast, and they couldn't keep up with it. Seeing this, everyone present broke out in cold sweat. They were all worried for Jing Yun. Especially Wu Lingfei, her body was trembling. If Yuan Fengxue hadn't held her back, she would have rushed forward to face this together with Jing Yun. At this moment, the difference in strength made her feel very uncomfortable. If only my husband was here. Jing Yun thought to herself as she faced Blood Demon Old Demon's attack. At this moment, she missed Night Sorrow's broad shoulders very much. However, she didn't regret fighting for the cultivators of the two worlds. She didn't regret it at all, but she was reluctant to leave. In fact, she knew what kind of impact Supreme Longevity would have on her when he made that judgment. You guys are attacking me so ferociously, but you can't stop her from dying. Just wait for the tragedy to happen. Blood Demon Old Demon, who was being attacked crazily, taunted as he blocked Supreme Longevity's attack. The cultivators present were so angry that they were about to explode, but they couldn't do anything. Boom! At this moment, a loud sound was heard. At Jing Yun's location, a huge explosion rang out. After the shockwaves from the collision subsided, everyone realized that a figure had suddenly appeared in front of Jing Yun. This person wasn't Night Sorrow, but the heaven-defying sword who had just arrived. At the crucial moment, Heaven-Defying helped Jing Yun block Old Demon Blood Demon's attack. He suffered some injuries, but he quickly recovered. He looked at Jing Yun and said, "Apart from geniuses like Night Sorrow, it's impossible for anyone in the Earth's sovereign realm to block the attack of a half-step Paramount Realm expert. Don't be impulsive next time." "Senior, thank you for saving my life." When Jing Yun reacted, she immediately expressed her gratitude to Heaven-Defying. This was definitely a life-saving grace. At that moment, she was already in despair. Wu Lingfei, whose eyes were brimming with tears, also expressed her gratitude. "Senior Tian and I, thank you for saving Jing Yun. You don't have to be so polite with me. Night Sorrow's business is my business. Come, let us fight side by side," Tian and I said and transformed back into a sword. Together with Jing Yun and the rest, he attacked the heavenly sovereigns of the Blood Fiend organization. With the addition of the Heaven-Defying sword, the situation immediately changed. Although the overall strength of the Blood Fiend organization was strong, other than the Blood Fiend Old Demon, no one else could withstand the attack of the Heaven-Defying sword. Very quickly, under the leadership of the Heaven-Defying sword, everyone killed more than 10 cultivators of the Blood Fiend organization. Bastard, there's actually a disruptor. If this continues, it'll be terrible. Seeing that the Heaven-Defying sword had changed the situation instantly, the Blood Fiend Old Demon was instantly enraged. He understood that if this continued, although the cultivators of the two realms would continue to die, his subordinates would also be exhausted. After thinking for a moment, he roared, "Everyone! Summon the power of the altar. Let them see the true strength of our Blood Fiend organization." "Yes, Patriarch." Hearing the Blood Fiend Old Demon's words, everyone from the Blood Fiend organization immediately began to chant the incantation of the Blood Fiend organization. After all of them had finished chanting, including the Blood Fiend Old Demon, a blood-colored light appeared on all the cultivators. Being enveloped by this blood-colored light, the auras of the Blood Fiend organization's cultivators instantly increased by 50 to 60%. Their combat strength simply soared, and the feeling they gave off was completely different. Not good. They've summoned the power of the Blood Fiend altar, and their strength has increased by leaps and bounds. Seeing that the Blood Fiend organization's cultivators had increased their combat strength, the Supreme Longevity immediately roared. "This is a moment that concerns the survival of the two realms. Everyone, if you have any tricks up your sleeves, don't hold back, use them all. Don't leave any regrets. On the other hand, as long as we block them, we can be considered to have protected our home." He knew that since the Blood Fiend organization's cultivators could increase their strength, it meant that Night Sorrow had not succeeded in destroying the altar. Now, they could only fight with their lives on the line. Thinking about him was completely useless. Fight, fight, fight. Kill as many as you can. The Eternal Supreme World's cultivators all roared. None of them had any intention of retreating. At this moment, Su Lei shouted, "Warriors of the Eternal Ancient Barren World, follow me and continue to kill the enemy. We will not rest until the Blood Fiend organization that destroyed our home is dead. Not rest until we die." Kill. The Eternal Ancient Barren World's cultivators also roared. Then, the cultivators of the two realms once again engaged in battle with the Blood Fiend organization. This time, although the two realms had the heaven-defying sword, old demon Blood Fiend's strength had increased. Soon, Supreme Longevity and the Pan-Long Spear were suppressed. Left with no choice, the heaven-defying sword could only give up on killing the Blood Fiend organization's cultivators and fight against old demon Blood Fiend with Supreme Longevity and the Pan-Long Spear. Even in the situation of 3 against 1, they could only fight to a draw with old demon Blood Fiend, who had gone all out. This old demon Blood Fiend was indeed not a simple person to be able to command an entire region. After receiving the support of the altar's power, his strength had increased by several times compared to the ordinary Blood Fiend organization's cultivators. Instantly, he became extremely difficult to deal with. Supreme Longevity, the Pan-Long Spear, and the heaven-defying sword judged that his strength and speed should have reached the peak of half a step to the Supreme Realm. Even if the 3 of them worked together, they might not be able to kill him. Without the heaven-defying sword holding back the Blood Fiend organization's heavenly supremes, the cultivators of the two realms were completely suppressed. After receiving the support of the altar's power, each of them became extremely ferocious. Moreover, it was as if they had suddenly obtained the ability of copper skin and iron bones, and their defensive strength had increased tremendously. To them, the attacks of the two realms' earthly supremes were no longer as fatal as before. Even the combined attacks of Jing Yun, Wu Lingfei, and the myriad sword sect were only able to suppress them. It was very difficult to kill any one of them. Under such attacks, the cultivators of the two realms began to fall. As the number of cultivators from the two realms decreased, and the Blood Fiend organization's cultivators became more and more ferocious, the island's defense could no longer hold on. Several Blood Fiend organizations' heavenly supremes had already charged into the civilian area and attacked the low-level cultivators. Chapter 3320. The second Deputy City Lord, who was in charge of arranging for the elderly, women, and children to board the ship, was heavily injured after a few rounds. He almost died. Helpless, he led a group of cultivators into the defensive array that Night Sorrow had set up for Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei. That was how they managed to survive. As for Jing Yun, Wu Lingfei, and the rest, although they saw the heavenly supremes of the Blood Fiends rushing over, they were helpless. With the number of allies around them dwindling, they could no longer stop all the Blood Fiends' cultivators. Helpless, they could only vent their anger on the Blood Fiends' cultivators in front of them. However, no matter how angry they were, they could not do anything when their strength was suppressed. At this time, Jing Yun said softly, "If my husband can destroy the altar now, there might be hope. If we don't close it quickly, I'm afraid everyone on the island will die except those who have already left. I hope my husband can do it." Wu Lingfei glanced at the island during the battle. She saw a heavenly supremacy of the Blood Fiends brutally tearing apart dozens of women and children from the two worlds. She was instantly enraged and burned the Phoenix bloodline in her body. Then Jing Yun, who saw the cruel scene, also burned the power of her bloodline and fought with the Blood Fiends. "Bastards! All of you deserve to die. One with the sword." At this time, Zhong Wanjian transformed into a sword and became one with the newly forged Extreme Flame Golden Phoenix sword. He attacked one of the Blood Fiend's cultivators. Boom! The Blood Fiend's cultivator in front of him was blasted into pieces. Good kill," Seeing that Zhong Wanjian killed a heavenly supremacy of the blood fiends in one move, Shui Changtian roared. He shouted out a lot of the depression in his chest. However, as time went by, such carefree scenes became fewer and fewer. More and more cultivators from the two worlds were dying. As a result, many of the heavenly supremes of the blood fiends became unstoppable. Bloodthirsty, they soon began to massacre the elderly, women, and children of the two worlds. They stopped them from boarding the battleships. They also began to destroy the teleportation portals to prevent people from escaping. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Seeing the old, weak women and children of the two worlds that didn't have much combat strength being cruelly slaughtered, even someone like Wu Lingfei, who had a very high level of self-restraint, was completely enraged. For a time, Wu Lingfei, Jing Yun, and the others began to give up on their opponents. While being chased by them, he attacked the heavenly sovereigns of the Blood Fiend organization, who were torturing and killing civilians. They really couldn't watch such a cruel scene continue to happen. However, as time passed, the number of cultivators with combat power in the two realms decreased. Gradually, although most people began to retreat to defend themselves, they could not stop the heavenly sovereigns from the Blood Evil organization from wreaking havoc. Ha! What a magnificent sight! Aren't you going to enjoy it? When old Demon Blood Demon saw the scene before him, he arrogantly sneered. Even though the Supreme Longevity and the others were not fond of him, they still could not take him down. For a moment, the hearts of both realms began to sink into despair. After the cultivators of the Blood Evil organization received the support of the altar, they gradually displayed stronger and stronger combat strength. Although they were fighting with all their might, there was still a gap in strength. At this point in the battle, the fact that there were too many people from both realms had become a burden. Many cultivators had died in order to protect the weak. What should we do? What should we do? Seeing more and more of their allies die and more people get killed, Jin Xian was on the verge of collapse. At this moment, Xiao Tianxian roared, "What do you mean, what should we do? Of course, we kill as many as we can." After that, they formed the joint attack formation again and attacked the cultivators of the Blood Evil organization. However, after they killed a few cultivators of the Blood Evil organization, they immediately attracted the attention of many people. The cultivators of the Blood Evil organization who were torturing and killing civilians all gathered here. Soon, more than 20 cultivators of the Blood Evil organization rushed over to provide support and surrounded Jing Yun and the others. Protect the spirit concubine. If you can hold on for a while, just a while. Under such circumstances, Xiao Tianxian transmitted his voice to everyone. Then, they continued to fight in the hopeless situation. Although each of them had a divine weapon given to them by Night Sorrow, the cultivators of the Blood Evil organization were much stronger. Not long after the battle, everyone was pushed away. Without the assistance of the joint attack formation, their situation fell to rock bottom in an instant. He was completely suppressed by the heavenly sovereigns of the Blood Fiend organization. She saw Night Sorrow's family and best friends being forced into such a state. Supreme Longevity immediately transmitted a message to Heaven Defying. "Brother Heaven Defying, go help them. Leave old Demon Blood Fiend to me and Brother Coiling Dragon. But you are definitely no match for him. If the two of you are killed, the two worlds will have no chance at all." At that time, even if Yen Ji Zun reappears and Night Sorrow becomes a Supreme Zun, it will be meaningless. Hearing this, the Heaven-Defying Sword immediately replied, "Don't worry. Even if I have to risk my life, I will stop old Demon Blood Fiend. Don't worry about helping the others. If you don't go now, everyone will die." Supreme Longevity uttered a roar and took out a pill emitting a misty aura from the space chamber. He swallowed it. "You swallowed the Heavenly Origin Annihilation pill. After an hour, you will explode and die." Seeing that Supreme Longevity had swallowed the Heavenly Origin Annihilation pill, Heaven-Defying Sword rushed over to help Jing Yun and the rest. If I can hold on for an hour, I will have profited." Hearing this, a smile appeared on Heaven-Defying Sword's face. Then he looked at old demon blood fiend and said coldly, "Let's fight again. Don't think that I don't know what the heavenly origin annihilation pill is. I only need to hold you back for an hour, and you will explode and die." Old demon blood fiend looked at Paragon Longevity with a look of disdain. Then he began to use his speed to hold back Supreme Longevity and the coiling dragon spear. Although the heaven-defying sword went to help Jing Yun and the rest, the heavenly sovereigns of the Blood Fiend organization had become extremely powerful after their strength had increased. With the advantage in numbers, even the heaven-defying sword was no longer invincible. Old demon blood fiend saw this and sneered, "Supreme Longevity, if I were you, I would escape by myself. That way, you will still have a chance of survival. You beast, you don't understand our feelings for our country at all. Today, as long as I live for a second, I will not let you harm any of the cultivators from the two worlds." After Supreme Longevity swallowed the heavenly origin annihilation pill, his aura increased by a lot. Moreover, he began to use his life-risking battle technique. www. Chapter 33:21. Once Supreme Longevity displayed this kind of battle method that would harm the enemy and himself in the process, he would be able to do it. Knowing that his body would explode in an hour, old demon blood demon did not fight him head-on. Instead, he used his superior speed to kill time. Supreme Longevity, who wanted to fight with his life on the line, could not attack him at all. "Bastard! Do you dare to fight me head-on?" Seeing that old demon blood demon was dodging non-stop, Paragon Longevity scolded in disdain. "I'm not a fool. Why would I fight you head-on in such a situation?" Old demon blood demon snorted coldly in response. Then, he released his spirit to check the current situation. He was very satisfied with the current situation, because even with the heaven-defying bead, the remaining cultivators of the blood demon organization could not be suppressed. If things were to continue like this, the island would probably be completely annihilated today. What should we do? If this continues, everyone will die. The master of the 10,000 Swords sect watched the battle unfold in front of him. He pondered for a moment and said, "How about this? We'll each choose a target. We'll self-destruct to take them down with us. Although these heavenly sovereigns of the blood demon organization are stronger than us, they won't be able to defend against self-destruction at close range. We'll kill as many as we can. How about that? Observe for a while more. If there's still no other way, we'll choose to self-destruct." Xiao Tianxian looked up at the situation and said in a low voice. At this moment, cultivators from the two worlds in other areas had already chosen to self-destruct to protect the other survivors. Because other than that, they could not find any other way to stop Heavenly Sovereign Blood Demon. There's no need to consider. We'll do the same. Seeing that the other cultivators from the two worlds had already started to use self-destruction to kill the cultivators of the Blood Demon organization, Wu Lingfei said with a frown. Speaking of which, she had been through hundreds of battles. At this critical moment, she was not afraid at all. Alright, today, we'll use our blood to defend the final glory of the two worlds. Eternal Supreme World and Eternal Ancient Desolate World were already in a desperate situation. Hearing Wu Lingfei's words, Su Lei agreed. Although she still had a bright future in Lutian Academy, she felt that there was no need for her to exist if her home was destroyed and her people were all killed. She was ready to self-destruct. Hearing this, everyone immediately searched for their respective targets. Being stared at covetously by them, even though the cultivators of the Bloody Malevolence organization were very evil, they couldn't help but retreat. Bastard! What was there to fear? If they want to self-destruct, you just have to take them on. Can everyone still be killed? When old Demon Blood Fiend saw that the cultivators from the Blood Fiend organization were intimidated by the fearless aura of the cultivators from the two realms, he immediately scolded them in displeasure. After being reprimanded, the heavenly sovereigns of the Blood Evil organization calmed down and prepared to fight the cultivators of the two realms. As for the cultivators of the two realms, they each looked for their opponents with solemn and stirring hearts. Right at this moment, Jing Yun suddenly spoke. Everyone, pay attention. Everyone, pay attention. Pay attention to what? Wu Lingfei, who was closest to her, couldn't help but ask in surprise. Attention, everyone. The bloody light on the heavenly sovereign of the Blood Fiend organization has disappeared. It's very likely that my husband destroyed the altar. Jing Yun reminded everyone loudly. After her reminder, Xiao Tianxian and the others also noticed. The bodies of the heavenly sovereigns of the Blood Evil organization had indeed lost their blood-red glow. Alright. The myriad sword sect, who was originally prepared to die, immediately roared into the sky. Then he roared, "Brothers, kill! The Blood Fiend altar has been destroyed. Don't self-destruct anymore. Kill!" Jin Xian also roared with all his might. "Kill! Kill! Kill!" Hearing this, the cultivators of the two realms all roared in unison. "Kill!" Even Su Lei also roared loudly. Then, the cultivators of the two realms started their counterattack. As for the cultivators of the Blood Fiend organization, after losing the power of the altar, it was as if all their energy had been sucked out. They didn't have the strength to fight at all. Very quickly, dozens of them were killed. Damn it! Why is there a problem with the altar? Old Demon Blood Fiend, who was fighting with the Supreme Longevity Organization and the Coiling Dragon Spear, naturally encountered the same problem. He had never expected that there would be a problem with the altar behind him. After all, there was a blood pool and more than 100 cultivators defending there. After realizing that the energy in his body had been sucked out, the thought of escaping immediately arose in Old Demon Blood Fiend's mind. However, after losing the support of the altar, his speed also decreased rapidly. On the other hand, the Supreme Longevity Organization had the support of the Heavenly Essence Annihilation Pill. In such a situation, Old Demon Blood Fiend couldn't win the battle, and he couldn't escape fast enough. Soon, he was killed by the Supreme Longevity Organization personally. In the battle, he didn't even kill a single person before he died. Old Demon Blood Fiend had never expected to die in such a humiliating way. Old Demon Blood Fiend is dead. We won. Kill all the members of the Blood Evil organization. Don't let a single one of them go. After killing Old Demon Blood Fiend, the Supreme Longevity Organization immediately roared. Kill! When the cultivators of the two realms heard this, they instantly responded with a deafening roar. As for the cultivators of the Blood Fiend organization, they completely lost their momentum. Not long after, they were all killed. Not a single one of them managed to escape. After killing all the enemies, the cultivators of the two realms, as well as the old, weak, women, and children who were preparing to escape, all cheered. To vent their emotions. It's all thanks to Night Sorrow for successfully destroying the Blood Fiend altar in time. Otherwise, we would all have died today. After the battle ended, the Supreme Longevity Organization said with relief. If he hadn't asked Night Sorrow to destroy the Blood Fiend altar, even if Night Sorrow was here, they might not have won. At this moment, everyone gathered in front of the Supreme Longevity Organization. Tian and I frowned. But there's not much time left. Senior Longevity. Yuan Fengxue and the others also knew that the Supreme Longevity Organization would explode and die in a while. They instantly cried out sadly. "Pa, don't worry about me. The end is for a new beginning. I will return. Leaving such a body might be a form of relief for me." The Supreme Longevity Organization looked at everyone and smiled kindly. Then he said, "There's no time. I'll make a move first. You guys wait here for Night Sorrow's return. Leave the rest of the matters to him." After saying that, Eternal Life's supreme soared into the air and flew into the sky. Not long after, there was a huge explosion in the sky. Yuan Fengxue, Jing Yun, and the other girls instantly cried sadly. Wu Lingfei's eyes were also misty. She was extremely upset. After recovering for a while, they finally regrouped and began to clean up the mess. After the Blood Fiend organization was destroyed, the eternal ancient desolate world became a pure land. They could temporarily rest and recuperate. As for the follow-up matters, Everyone prepared to follow the instructions of the Supreme Longevity Organization and leave it to Night Sorrow. Chapter 33:22. At this moment, Night Sorrow was resting in the secret chamber under the palace. At that time, after he killed Xueqi and the others, he began to attack the Blood Fiend altar. However, the Blood Fiend altar's defensive power was simply astonishing. Moreover, its recovery ability was extremely strong. Every time Night Sorrow used the golden heavenly halberd to create a crack, it would automatically grow back. This also caused Night Sorrow to need to continuously attack. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow continuously attacked the Blood Fiend altar with his ultimate techniques for more than 2 hours. Together with the cultivators who had been purified, they attacked together. Only then did they successfully destroy the Blood Fiend altar. And he had almost burned his flesh and blood, which consumed a lot of energy. Even if he used the pills provided by the Eternal Divine Tower, he still needed a while to recover. In the 10 times space of the Eternal Divine Tower, after recovering for about a day, Night Sorrow successfully recovered. At this time, he immediately kept all the cultivators who had been purified into the Eternal Divine Tower. He said, "I don't know how the battle over there has progressed. You guys hurry up and recover. I'll hurry back." "Master, don't worry. We didn't consume as much energy as you did. We have almost recovered. As long as we arrive, we will definitely tear old demon Blood Fiend to shreds." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, the three-eyed silver wolf immediately responded, "I only hope that my family and friends can hold on until we return." After saying this, Yishang didn't say anything else. He used his fastest speed and hurried towards the island. However, no matter how fast he was, he still needed some time to return to the island. When Night Sorrow flew above the island, everyone on the island had already finished cleaning up the severely damaged island. They were rebuilding some of the damaged buildings. At the same time, some of the cultivators who had left on the battleship were also on their way back. Hua Qian Gumanga, phew, that's great. Looks like we've won this battle. Seeing everyone cleaning up the mess in an orderly manner, Night Sorrow immediately heaved a sigh of relief. At this time, he released the power of his soul and began to search for Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei. When he found the two of them in the room where he had set up the array, he immediately flew down. "It's great that you're fine." Seeing that Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei were safe and sound, Night Sorrow let out a sigh of relief. At this moment, Wu Lingfei said with a serious expression, "Husband, supreme longevity, in order to protect everyone. He consumed the Heaven Essence Annihilation pill and has already exploded and died." What? Senior longevity has fallen? When Night Sorrow heard this, he felt as if he had been struck by lightning. For a moment he couldn't accept it. He sacrificed himself for everyone. We were powerless to stop the tragedy from happening. After Wu Lingfei finished speaking, she fell silent. Jing Yun continued. After that, she explained the details of the battle to Night Sorrow. "It's all my fault. If I had destroyed the Blood Fiend altar earlier, Senior Longevity wouldn't have died." After listening to Jing Yun, Night Sorrow calculated the time and realized that if he had destroyed the altar a moment earlier, he immediately regretted it. Don't blame yourself. We all know that you do your best. It can only be said that it's fate. Seeing that Night Sorrow was depressed, Jing Yun immediately consoled him. At this moment, Wu Lingfei continued, "Don't dwell in sorrow." Before Senior Longevity left, he said that he would let you take charge of the situation. Think about how the cultivators of the two worlds should go in the future. Let me think about it. Hearing this, Night Sorrow forcefully suppressed the sadness in his heart. In fact, losing Supreme Longevity was a huge blow to the Eternal Supreme World. This meant that the Eternal Supreme World had lost a hope of becoming a Supreme Venerable. After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow thought to himself, "It seems that if I want to fight against the 3 Supreme Venerables, I have to defeat the fog area. I can only become a Supreme Venerable and then find Yen Jizuan and the Junior Supreme Venerable Liken mentioned. Only then will there be a glimmer of hope." Then, he began to think about how to settle these people in the eternal supreme world and the eternal ancient desolate world. There was no doubt that the eternal ancient desolate world was safe for now. If they were to recuperate here, they should be able to develop and grow in peace. But for those with potential and talent, it would be a waste of talent to stay here. The speed of their strength improvement would definitely be limited. After thinking carefully, he suddenly had an idea. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow gathered all the cultivators above the earthly supreme level. He said, "The eternal ancient desolate world is temporarily safe. I plan to leave all the cultivators below the earthly supreme level in the palace and the island to recuperate. As for the earthly supreme level cultivators, I plan to bring them to the fog area. Everyone, quickly improve your strength. Strive to become a heavenly supreme as soon as possible, or even half a step to the supreme venerable or even the supreme venerable. Does anyone have any opinions? If we go to the fog area, will we completely become tools of slaughter?" Hearing Night Sorrow's words, an earthly supreme in the eternal ancient desolate world immediately asked. After all, in everyone's hearts, the fog area was a place that could not be entered. As long as we follow Brother Yi, there will be no problems. Su Lei glanced at the cultivator and explained. If we don't become beasts of slaughter, we naturally want to go there to cultivate. Hearing Su Lei say that they would not be corroded in the fog area, someone immediately expressed their willingness to follow Night Sorrow. At this time, Night Sorrow continued, "To be honest, it's the power of good karma that I have that can purify the fog. Even if everyone is corroded in the fog area, I have a way to remove it. So, everyone can follow me into the fog area with peace of mind. It's just that currently, we don't have a suitable place for everyone to cultivate. Everyone may feel wronged for a while. After I bring people to take over some family's territory, everyone can cultivate in peace there." If he brought fewer people from the Space Grotto Heaven, entering the Lu Tian Academy would be fine. But Night Sorrow felt that if he brought hundreds or thousands of cultivators who were not from the fog area into the Lu Tian Academy, or even the middle of the academy, something big might happen. So, he planned to settle them outside the academy. And the Lin family's foundation was what he planned to take over. As long as he took over the Lin family's territory, then he could completely develop it into a pure land for cultivators from the two families to cultivate. "You mean, you want to take over all the Lin family's territory? Settle everyone there?" Su Lei had also come from the fog area. Naturally, he understood Night Sorrow's meaning, so he immediately asked. "It's like this. If we rashly bring everyone to the middle of the academy to cultivate, their strength will increase by leaps and bounds. But if we are discovered by the Supreme Beings, we will definitely be wiped out. If that happens, we will never have a chance to turn things around. So, I don't want to take this risk," Night Sorrow explained. "Alright. Then, let's go back and quickly develop our forces, then destroy the Lin family." Su Lei agreed. www. Chapter 33-23. 1 second to remember love on *U reading /book wonderful, no pop-up window free reading. After saying this, Su Lei continued, "But I think it's best not to bring everyone along. Otherwise, if you have something to do and stay in the middle courtyard for a long time, or if you are tied up by something, then everyone will have nowhere to hide." Hearing this, Night Sorrow shook his head and said, "There's no need for that. I can help everyone make a fake fog aura. Let everyone stay on Night Demon Peak to cultivate. Even if everyone is corroded by the fog, I have a way to purify it. Everyone just needs to be responsible for quickly increasing their strength. So, if everyone is corroded by the fog, can't we enter the middle courtyard to cultivate? Why would we snatch the Lin clan's territory?" Su Lei said in confusion. He felt that it was better to let everyone enter the middle courtyard to increase their strength faster. "I feel that the middle courtyard is very special. Even if it's me, there will be problems if I stay there for a long time. So I don't want to stay there for long," Night Sorrow explained. "In addition, in a few thousand years, the 3 Supremes will come out of seclusion. If any of them were to come out of seclusion, they would see through my identity. I will stay in the middle courtyard for at most a few thousand years. So, before they come out, we have to arrange our territory clearly. This way, it will be relatively safer. So that's how it is. Indeed, the three Supremes are too terrifying. It's best if we avoid them. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he immediately understood what was going on and agreed. The others also more or less understood what was going on in the fog area. After discussion, everyone present decided to follow Night Sorrow to the fog area. After making arrangements for everyone, Night Sorrow left with Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei. After returning to his residence, he looked at Wu Lingfei and said, "Lingfei, what I mean is that you and Jing Yun stay in the eternal, ancient, desolate world. I don't want our child to be contaminated by the fog before it is even born. What do you think?" Since you have decided, I naturally have no objections. It's also a good thing for us to stay here. It's to prevent you from worrying about us and affecting the normal operation of things. If our eternal supreme world wants to completely take back our home, it will definitely be an extremely difficult path. I hope you can lead everyone on this path. When you're free, just come and visit us. After a moment of silence, Wu Lingfei began to speak word by word. To be honest, she wanted to go with Night Sorrow. However, he was also worried that if Night Sorrow was gone for too long, she would be infected with the dark aura and give birth to a child that would be born evil. Therefore, he couldn't accept it. Hearing this, Night Sorrow was very grateful for her understanding. He hugged her and said, "No matter how difficult the road is, I will lead everyone to successfully take back the eternal supreme world and let everyone live a peaceful life. When the time comes, we can bring everyone from our family over. We can enjoy the happiness of family and watch the children cultivate and fight." I hope that day will come soon. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Wu Lingfei's face revealed a trace of a smile. Without their clansmen, she and Jing Yun felt that this wasn't a complete home. However, this was a special period of time, so they couldn't bring their families over from the God Realm. At least for now, the God Realm was still a pure land without any major dangers. "Jing Yun, in the next few years, I'll leave Lingfei to you to take care of. Thank you for your hard work." After speaking to Wu Lingfei, Night Sorrow looked at Jing Yun and said gently, "We're all family, so there's no need to be so polite. It's my duty to take care of my sister. However, I hope you can come back and visit us when you have time. We're worried about you if you don't see us for hundreds or thousands of years," Jing Yun said emotionally. During the thousands of years that Night Sorrow had been in the fog, she and Wu Lingfei had always been on tenterhooks, afraid that something would happen to Night Sorrow. "Don't worry, I'll come back often. At the very least, I'll bring you a lot of cultivation resources." Night Sorrow looked at Jing Yun. "Although you're in the eternal, ancient, desolate world, it's best that you don't neglect your cultivation. The war in the future will be chaotic. At that time, I might have to fight against the Supremes and won't have the energy to take care of you. All right, we'll work hard in our cultivation and try to protect ourselves in the battle against the Supremes. Jing Yun nodded her head seriously. She also knew that if they didn't overcome the three mountains of the Supremes, there would be no light in the eternal, ancient, desolate world. After a few years, they would be harvested again. Therefore, no matter what, they had to defeat the three Supremes. Almost half of the pressure on the group that had defeated the three Supreme Venerates was concentrated on Yishang. "These are the resources that I've prepared for you. You should be able to use these resources to cultivate to the Heavenly Supreme level. When you reach the Heavenly Supreme level, you can consume a Supreme Heavenly Origin pill to raise your cultivation level." Night Sorrow took out some of the resources that he had accumulated for the two women from the space cave. He handed them to Jing Yun and continued, "Then I'll take my leave first. There are still many things that I need to deal with in the fog." "Don't go yet. Let me brew another pot of tea for you." Seeing that Night Sorrow was about to leave, Jing Yun immediately spoke up. She and Wu Lingfei's eyes were a little wet. "All right. I'll stay with you for a few more days." Night Sorrow could feel that the two women were reluctant to part with him, so he agreed and stayed. In the following days, Night Sorrow brought the two women out of the island and into the sea to relax. After returning, Night Sorrow bid farewell to them and led the cultivators of the two worlds to seal the passageways between the eternal ancient desolate world and the eternal ancient desolate world, as well as the passageways between the eternal ancient desolate world and the fog. Only then did he bring everyone to the fog. So this is the foggy area? It's really so foggy that it feels unfathomable. When the myriad sword sect in Night Sorrow's space cave entered the fog and saw that there were earthly supremes everywhere, they immediately sighed with emotion. When I first came here, I wasn't even an earthly supremacy. Facing these creatures was still very stressful. But later, I found that the cultivation of the average cultivator in the fog is at the heavenly supreme level. I think that after everyone enters the fog, they will soon become heavenly supremes. After the myriad sword sect finished speaking, Night Sorrow began to tell everyone about his experiences in the fog. After listening to him from beginning to end, the cultivators of the two worlds had a basic understanding of the fog. After talking about his experiences, Night Sorrow continued, "Next, I'm going to bring you to the Night Demon Peak that I've created. It's threatened by the Lin clan, but relatively speaking, it's safer than the Lu Tian Academy. Everyone can stay there permanently. Alright, we'll catch up as soon as possible." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, the myriad sword sect smiled and said, "I'll think of a way to provide everyone with resources so that you can quickly become heavenly supremes. When all of you become heavenly supremes, together with the forces that we've developed in the fog, we'll be able to attack the Lin clan." Night Sorrow said slowly as they flew towards the Night Demon Peak. "This Lin clan he must annihilate." Chapter 33-24. I heard that there are 2,000 to 3,000 heavenly sovereigns in the Lin clan. Even if everyone becomes a heavenly sovereign, I'm afraid we won't be able to fight against them, right? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Su Lei added. She was not confident. The Lin clan was one of the most powerful clans in the foggy area. They controlled an extremely vast area, and the number of heavenly sovereigns in the clan was extremely exaggerated. There were at least 2 half-step to Supreme Realm experts, and they were absolute overlords. It was very difficult to uproot a force with such strength. When everyone's strength reaches the heavenly sovereign level, my strength won't be as weak as it is now. At that time, it shouldn't be a problem to deal with ordinary half-step to Supreme Realm cultivators. Although the Lin clan has many people, they shouldn't be a threat. Night Sorrow finished speaking calmly and continued, "And our extermination of the Lin clan is something that the Lu Tian Academy secretly supports. At that time, I might be able to get some support from Vice Dean Ji Xian, because they are not a threat. The Lu Tian Academy is preparing to use people from the Central Academy to conquer the Eternal Supreme Domain and the Foggy Area. They should be thinking of completely reshuffling the cards in the 2 domains and taking control of them." The others didn't know about the Lu Tian Academy, but Su Lei knew. After she said this, she looked at Night Sorrow. "But what's the reason for doing this?" "Reason?" During the flight, Night Sorrow deduced, "According to my judgment. It should be because after the last battle, the 3 Supremes were injured and went into hibernation. They lost control of the foggy area. The foggy area was handed over to these big clans. Now they should be recovering soon. They should start to deal with these clans. They are preparing to completely control the foggy area in the hands of their own people. Of course, I also suspect that there are some hidden secrets in this. But how can they be sure that the people from the Central Academy are reliable?" Su Lei said, then looked at Night Sorrow worriedly and said, "Could it be that they still have a backup plan?" "Not could it be, it's definitely. The 3 Supremes must have already made arrangements in this regard." Night Sorrow said with a frown. Then he continued, "That's why I'm preparing to take over the Lin clan's businesses as soon as possible and strengthen our own forces. But after the 3 Supremes come out of seclusion, no matter how strong everyone is, it should be useless." Su Lei said with a frown. The 3 Supreme Venerables would come out of seclusion in less than 10,000 years. This was something that many people in the foggy area knew. It was also a stone that weighed down on everyone's hearts. Everyone is no match for the three supreme venerables. However, it would be best if he could contend against someone half a step into the limitless realm. If a war were to break out in the future, the three supreme venerables would be restrained by someone. But everyone needs to be able to protect themselves in the face of an army of thousands. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he didn't say anything else. This was because they had already arrived at the entrance of Night Demon Peak. The mountain gate of Night Demon Peak was much larger than when Night Sorrow had been there. It looked very imposing. The plaque hanging high in the sky seemed to have the meaning of an immortal's lintel. We're here. Everyone, absorb some of the ancient coffin's aura to disguise yourselves. Floating in the air above the mountain gate, Night Sorrow took out the ancient coffin from the space and let everyone absorb it. After everyone had finished absorbing, he then slowly flew into Night Demon Peak. However, he didn't summon everyone. The moment he stepped into Night Demon Peak, the cultivators guarding the mountain gate recognized Night Sorrow and immediately informed Yun Yi and the rest. Yun Yi left and brought a few cultivators out to welcome him. Brother Yi, you're finally back. How's the matter that you went to settle? Seeing Night Sorrow's figure, Yun Yi immediately welcomed him with a smile. He knew that Night Sorrow had returned to his hometown to look for his family. It's still considered satisfactory. Night Sorrow gave a simple reply. Then he asked, how was the situation here while I was away? Did the Lin family take revenge? The Lin family did take action against us. But every time, Lin Dongxiao was able to send the news out in time. Therefore, we didn't suffer any losses. Yun Yi transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow. Naturally, he wouldn't reveal Lin Dongxiao's matter in front of others. After talking about the Lin family, Yun Yi continued, also, because we have enough resources recently, the treatment given is better. Moreover, we have the middle court to rely on, so the recruitment process is relatively smooth. When you left, we only had less than 10 Heavenly Supremes left. Now, we've recruited 60 to 70 of them. Very good. At this rate, we should be able to compete with the Lin family very soon. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he looked at Yun Yi and said, Brother Yun, gather everyone. I'm going to check if the newly recruited people are reliable. In his own space grotto heaven, there were more than 100 cultivators from the two realms. He had to ensure that the people he recruited were all reliable before he could summon them out and make arrangements. All right, let's go to the meeting hall and wait. After speaking, Yun Yi brought Night Sorrow and Su Lei into the meeting hall of Night Demon Peak. Then he began to gather all the cultivators in Night Demon Peak. Not long after, all of the cultivators were gathered in the conference hall. With the previous experience of the Lin family cultivators joining Night Demon Peak, this time, everyone was gathered. This time, after everyone had arrived, Night Sorrow immediately looked at everyone and said, Hello everyone, I'm Night Demon. I'm from the middle court of Lu Tian Academy. Today, I've gathered everyone here to sign the Blood Oath of Alliance. Blood Oath of Alliance? What's that? Hearing this, a cultivator immediately stepped forward and looked at Night Sorrow. It's similar to a heavenly oath. However, it has a paper as proof and the heavens as proof. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he asked Yun Yi to prepare the Blood Oath of Alliance. He explained, This Blood Oath of Alliance is fair to both of us. Night Demon Peak is responsible for protecting and nurturing you, but you have to fight for Night Demon Peak and guarantee that you won't betray us. If anyone wants to leave, you can leave now. This way, we can ensure that you weren't sent by other forces. Is that so? Then, won't we have to be loyal to Night Demon Peak forever? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, some of the cultivators started to think. To them, the word, forever, was more or less a binding term. Seeing that everyone was talking about it, Night Sorrow said with a smile, Forever represents stability. You want to be protected by a large force, but you don't want to pay anything. That's absolutely impossible. Night Demon Peak, with the middle court as our backing, will soon grow into a large force. If you want to join us in the future, you have to meet some requirements. Think about it carefully. After you've thought it through, you can find me to sign the blood oath of alliance. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, some of the cultivators present started to study it. Those who had ulterior motives naturally felt very uncomfortable. They had already started to think about what they should do to escape today. Chapter 33-25. After all, some of the cultivators were sent by other factions to infiltrate Night Devil Peak and had already formed an alliance with them. If they signed the blood pact with Night Devil Peak, it would be a direct violation of the Heavenly Tao. They would be punished by the Heavenly Tao. Seeing the reactions of some of the cultivators present, Yi Shang revealed a trace of a smile and said, "Has everyone thought it through? The Night Devil Peak Master is willing to sign the blood pact with us because he trusts and cares for us. We have no reason not to sign it." Some cultivators rushed to respond as soon as Night Sorrow finished speaking. As soon as this cultivator finished speaking, many other cultivators immediately chimed in. Clearly, they were very interested in joining Night Devil Peak. The reactions of these cultivators were obviously within Night Sorrow's consideration. However, they did not pass Night Sorrow's test. Night Sorrow ignored the silent cultivators and looked at the cultivators who had agreed to sign the blood pact. "Everyone, come one by one in front of Brother Yunyi and sign the blood pact. Remember, use your real name. Only then will the blood pact take effect." After he finished speaking, some cultivators lined up and came before him to sign the blood pact. This blood pact was found by Yunyi in an ancient book after the last large-scale betrayal. After modification, it basically eliminated all possibilities of cheating. When the blood pact began to be signed, some cultivators who did not want to join Night Devil Peak could no longer sit still. One of the cultivators stood up and rushed toward Night Devil Peak's mountain gate. The other dozen or so cultivators who could not sign the blood pact also stood up and flew out of the conference hall, wanting to escape from Night Devil Peak. Night Sorrow sneered. "Brother Yun, activate the mountain protecting array. Don't let any of them go. I want those factions to understand that Night Devil Peak is not to be infiltrated. Don't worry. With the array you set up, none of them will be able to escape today." Yunyi replied and activated the mountain protecting array. Then he ordered, "Everyone, attack together and kill all the spies sent by the other factions." Some of the cultivators who were about to sign the pact heard this and immediately chased outside. At this time, Night Sorrow said, "Everyone, there's no need to be like this. I'll take care of this. You guys continue to sign the blood oath." After saying that, he took out his golden heavenly halberd and chased after the heavenly sovereigns. Very soon, the dozen or so cultivators were all killed and handed over to the eternal divine tower to devour. The main reason he did this was to display his strength. When they saw Night Sorrow, who was a lower heavenly sovereign, take out a heavenly sovereign with a single move, some of the people present were completely shocked. The geniuses of the middle school of the Dark Tao Academy were indeed not simple. After that, the speed of signing the blood oath of allegiance also increased by a lot. After everyone had signed the blood oath of alliance, Night Sorrow looked at them and said, "Everyone has signed the blood oath of alliance, but you still need to swear an oath of loyalty to Night Demon Peak. Does anyone have any objections to this?" Since the blood oath has been signed, there's naturally no problem in swearing such an oath to the Heavenly Tao. One of the cultivators immediately replied. After that, he was the first to swear an oath to never betray the Heavenly Tao. When the others saw that this cultivator was the first to swear an oath to the Heavenly Tao, they naturally did not shirk from it and all began to do so. During this process, Night Sorrow, whose power of merit had already advanced to the upper earthly sovereign level, saw that there was something wrong with the three cultivators. Although they had sworn an oath to the Heavenly Tao as required, their thoughts were different. After using his power of merit to detect these people, Night Sorrow immediately sent a voice transmission to Yunyi and pointed out the three of them. After that, Yunyi asked, "Are we going to cast a long line to catch a big fish or kill them directly? Capture them first and interrogate them properly to find out which forces they are from." This way we will know in our hearts. This time, I've brought many friends with me. These people must not be exposed. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he directly attacked the three of them and restrained them. After handing them over to Yunyi, he looked at the crowd and said, "These three are spies. As for how I identified them, I won't talk about it. I still have things to deal with, so I'll leave the follow-up to Deputy Peak Master Yunyi." Farewell, Peak Master. Some of the cultivators present hurriedly got up to send Night Sorrow off. Rise. Since we've all joined Night Demon Peak, we're brothers. There's no need to care about these complicated formalities. After Night Sorrow said that, he sent a voice transmission to Yunyi. Brother Yun, you take charge of the situation first. I'll go outside to set up some arrays and then summon my friends, so that they can cultivate peacefully in Night Demon Peak. All right, go ahead and do it. Leave the matter at hand to me. Yunyi knew that the friends that Night Sorrow mentioned were definitely not from the foggy area, so he immediately responded. All right. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he found a remote area on Night Demon Peak and began to set up the arrays. After setting up the ceiling arrays, he summoned everyone and said, "The area we're in now is Night Demon Peak on the outskirts of Lu Tian Academy. Although this area is not big, it should be enough for everyone to build their cave abodes. In the future, I'll return to Lu Tian Academy, so everyone can do whatever you want. If you breathe in the foggy aura, don't be afraid. When I return, I'll purify it for everyone. All right, Night Sorrow, don't worry. We'll improve our strength as soon as possible." Seeing that Night Sorrow was worried about everyone, Myriad Sword Sect immediately smiled and said, "You don't have to worry about us. Everyone here will only work hard to cultivate and won't wander around and cause trouble. I feel that it's a little unfair for everyone to stay here. But there's nothing we can do about it. I still have things to do, so I'll take my leave first." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he took another look at his friends and left with Su Lei. After that, he explained the details to Yun Yi and returned to Lu Tian Academy with Su Lei. When they arrived at Lu Tian Academy, Night Sorrow brought Su Lei directly to the middle of the academy. When they were on the starship, Night Sorrow let Su Lei try to fight against the skeletons on the island, and Su Lei successfully dealt with one wave. When it came to the second wave, he was unable to fight back. At this time, Night Sorrow made his move and successfully dealt with the second and third waves of pirate skeletons. Not long after dealing with the third wave of pirate skeletons, they successfully arrived at Night Demon Planet. When they arrived at Night Demon Planet, Night Sorrow immediately flew to the palace that he had built. He believed that after such a long time, Xian Yan and the rest must have built the palace even more thoroughly. However, when they arrived at the palace, Night Sorrow's brows suddenly furrowed. The palaces that he had personally set up were all destroyed and turned into ruins. What's going on? While Night Sorrow was observing with the sea serpent's eye, Xian Heng said sternly. Chapter 33-26. Could it be that the Night Demon Planet was attacked by other geniuses? Or was it attacked by beasts from the outside world? Seeing the situation in front of him, Su Lei frowned and speculated. It should be very difficult for beasts from the outside world to break through the defensive arrays set up by me and my teacher. Night Sorrow observed everything with a gloomy expression. Then, he said worriedly, "I wonder where Hasa and Xian Yan have gone. Let's look for them on the Night Demon Planet first. If we can't find them, we can only ask Teacher Ji Xian for help. But we'll look for them immediately." Su Lei nodded when he heard Night Sorrow's words. "Follow me." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he released his soul power and searched the Night Demon Planet. At the same time, he sent a message to Hasa, Xian Yan, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, Bai Mei Sanren, and the others. He hoped to get a response from them. However, after searching the entire Night Demon Planet, he did not find anything. None of the people who sent the voice transmissions replied to him. It seems that they are no longer on the Night Demon Planet. Let's go find Teacher Ji Xian and ask him to take us to Jielin's planet. After searching the entire Night Demon Planet, he did not find a single friend. Night Sorrow's heart sank. He was very worried that Hasa, Xian Yan, and the others had been captured or killed by other geniuses in the central courtyard. Then he found Vice Principal Ji Xian and told him about the situation on the Night Demon planet. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Vice Principal Ji Xian said, "Jie Lin has already told me about what you've said. Some genius in the central courtyard felt that with your strength, you were not qualified to have a foothold there. So, he led people to attack the Night Demon planet. When all the buildings on the Night Demon planet were destroyed, Jie Lin brought the injured Xian Yan and the others to the planet. Don't worry, none of your friends have died. Teacher, please tell me the coordinates of the Jie Lin planet. I'll go find my friends." After hearing what had happened to the Night Demon planet, Night Sorrow was angry but also slightly relieved. "But I'll give you the coordinates of the Jie Lin planet. However, you have to be careful. The genius who is targeting you this time is very strong and has his own starship. Before you have your own starship, it's best that you don't confront him head-on." Vice Principal Ji Xian could tell that Night Sorrow was furious and reminded him. "Starship? Can a person also own a starship?" Night Sorrow asked doubtfully. He really didn't know much about the central courtyard. After all, he did not linger after obtaining the Night Demon Star. Instead, he left immediately. "Of course, last time, I didn't think things through and didn't tell you everything. Here are some things to take note of in the middle courtyard. Take a good look at them." Starships could be exchanged with star points. Of course, starships were not the only things that could be exchanged with star points. There were also many other useful resources and divine artifacts. As for how to obtain the star points, it was stated in the Jade Slip. Go back and take a good look. At this point, Vice Dean Ji Xian continued, and in the middle courtyard, there are many opportunities waiting for you to explore. The things you can obtain will be beyond your imagination. However, the fierceness of the competition will also exceed your imagination. I can't help you or Jie Lin there. You can only rely on yourselves. Work hard and strive to be the first genius in the middle courtyard to reach the supreme realm. I have high hopes for you." "Thank you, teacher." Night Sorrow took the Jade Slip from Vice Dean Ji Xian and thanked him before continuing, "I'm anxious to see my friend, so I'll take my leave first. Go. I look forward to seeing you establish yourself in the middle courtyard and make a name for yourself." Vice Dean Ji Xian looked at Night Sorrow with anticipation. "Don't worry, teacher. I'll definitely establish myself in the middle courtyard." Night Sorrow bowed to Vice Dean Ji Xian and returned to the middle courtyard, heading straight for Jie Lin's planet. After defeating 3 waves of pirate skulls, he and Su Lei successfully arrived at Jie Lin's planet. They had just landed when a few of Jie Lin's subordinates intercepted them. The leader of the female cultivators immediately scolded, "Who are you people? How dare you barge into Jie Lin's planet? Don't be angry. I'm Night Demon, the owner of the Night Demon Star. I'm Jie Lin's friend. Help me inform him." Night Sorrow looked at the female cultivator in front of him and said slowly, "You're the useless Star Lord who implicated Master?" When Night Sorrow reported his name, the female cultivator immediately retorted with a displeased question. "How did you get the title of useless Star Lord?" Hearing this, Night Sorrow was instantly displeased. "Sister Jiehan, please don't talk so much. He's a Star Lord after all. He's not someone we can afford to offend." The female cultivator called Jiehan originally wanted to say something. But at this moment, a female cultivator behind her came out to persuade her, so she gave up. With a cold snort, she and the other female cultivator went to inform Jie Lin. Not long after, Jie Lin rushed over. When she saw Night Sorrow, she immediately heaved a sigh of relief and said, "You're finally back. Recently, I've been under a lot of pressure. Thank you for your hard work. What exactly happened?" Night Sorrow could completely feel Jie Lin's exhaustion and knew that she must have been under a lot of pressure. "Let's talk as we walk. Your friends are all recuperating in my palace." Jie Lin made an inviting gesture to Night Sorrow and Su Lei, and took the lead to fly in front to lead the way. At the same time, she told them what had happened to Night Devil Planet. It turned out that after Night Sorrow left, Meng He and Zhu Qingxian, who had a grudge against him and Jie Lin, instigated Baron Jie to cause trouble for Night Devil Planet. Baron Jie drove his starship and brought Meng He and Zhu Qingxian. After arriving at Night Devil Planet, he destroyed all the palaces built by Night Sorrow and the others. He also injured Dancing Woman, Xian Yan, Marky Wolf, Bai Mei Sanren, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast and the others. Then, he warned that no cultivators could exist on Night Devil Planet in the future. If there were, it would be to cause trouble for him, Baron Jie, and he would drive his starship to smash it at any time. This time, it was to injure people. Next time, it would be to kill people. As for Jie Lin, there were experts protecting him, so they did not dare to directly attack him. Bastard! I will definitely teach you a lesson. After listening to Jie Lin, Night Sorrow immediately flew into a rage. I'm sorry, I've implicated you this time. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have offended Baron Jie and Si Ming. Meng He and Zhu Qingxian are not your match at all. The problem lies with Baron Jie and Si Ming. Jie Lin said embarrassedly when he saw Night Sorrow's anger. It's not your fault. With my strength, it's hard not to be targeted in the middle of the courtyard. I will think of a way to solve this matter. Night Sorrow looked at Jie Lin. This time, I have to thank you for taking in my friends. You're welcome, we are friends too. Moreover, it's equivalent to me bringing you into the middle of the courtyard. Naturally, we have to help each other. After Jie Lin finished speaking, he pointed to the palace in the distance and said, We're here. Your friends are all inside, I'll bring you in. Chapter 33:27. Jie Lin, thank you so much. While flying towards the palace, Night Sorrow thanked Jie Lin again. Then, under Jie Lin's lead, he entered the palace with Su Lei and saw Hasa Lady, Xian Yan, and the others. What made Night Sorrow extremely angry was that everyone present was severely injured. They were just short of having their Dantian and Divine Soul destroyed. It's all my fault for coming back late and making everyone suffer. But don't worry, I'll avenge you all. Without waiting for anyone to speak, Night Sorrow spoke first. It's all our fault for not being good enough. It has nothing to do with you. That Huang Jie is only an upper heavenly supreme, but he defeated me so easily. Speaking of which, I'm still too weak. Hearing this, Hasa Lady said unwillingly. Bai Mei Sanren, who was the most seriously injured, said, Brother, our lives are not in danger. Don't be rash. He could feel Night Sorrow's anger, and he was afraid that he would fight Huang Jie to the death. Brother, don't worry. He's just an upper heavenly supreme who can fight against a half-step to supreme realm. Brother, you're not afraid. When I exchange for a starship, I'll go and trample on his barren thorn planet. Yishang walked in front of White-Browed Wanderer and spoke word by word. Then he took out a pill and gave it to him first. Then he gave it to the others. Speaking of which, Night Sorrow's coming to the foggy area had a lot to do with Bai Mei Sanren. However, while he was doing well here, Bai Mei Sanren's cultivation level was increasing very slowly. Brother, I heard from Miss Jie Lin that you need a lot of star points to exchange for a starship. I'm afraid it's not that simple. Bai Mei Sanren was a little surprised that Night Sorrow wanted to exchange for a starship to attack the barren thorn planet. He immediately reminded him. After all, Jie Lin had been in the middle court for so many years and had not gotten a starship yet. At this time, Jie Lin also said, Yes. Night Demon, you need 10,000 star points to exchange for a starship. This is definitely not a small number. I'll do my best to investigate this matter. Everyone stay here and recuperate. I'll go back to Night Demon Planet and build our palace. Seeing that no one's life was in danger, and that no one was crippled, Night Sorrow's hanging heart could be temporarily put down. He was ready to return to Night Demon Planet and build his palace. Hearing this, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast immediately advised, No. That group of people was extremely powerful. They were not inferior to experts who were half a step into the supreme realm. If you return rashly, I'm afraid you'll end up like us. I'm not afraid of ordinary cultivators who are half a step into the limitless stage. Su Lei, stay here and help take care of Pajuo. Yi Shan looked at the chaotic heavenly crystal beast and said a few words before taking his leave. Even Su Lei was left behind. Then Tong Jilin said, "For the next period of time, I will entrust my friends to you. As for me, I will properly deal with Huang Ji and the others." "I understand what you mean. I will help you take care of your friend. Also, I have 300 star points here. I'll give them all to you." Jie Lin knew that Night Sorrow was preparing to fight Huang Ji and the others alone, so he did not bring any friends. She gave out her star token and all the star points on it to Night Sorrow. "Thank you." Night Sorrow knew very well that it was very difficult to obtain star points in the middle of the courtyard. 300 star points was not a small amount. It was enough for him to exchange for a certain amount of resources, so he immediately thanked her. "You're welcome. We're friends. Also, I have high hopes for you," Jie Lin said, and then said apologetically, "As for the battle with Huang Ji and the others, my strength is not enough, so I shouldn't be able to help you much. I hope you don't mind." "Of course I don't mind. Also, I'm very grateful for your Jie Lin bloodline." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he boarded the starship under Jie Lin's gaze and used it to return to Night Demon Planet. After stepping onto Night Demon Planet, Night Sorrow collected the destroyed palace and then built an identical palace in the same position. After that, he waited patiently for Huang Ji to arrive. However, after waiting for a long time, he did not see anyone from Huang Ji. Therefore, he began to study the jade slip that Vice President Ji Xian had given him. Then he read through the entire jade slip once. Only then did he know that there was a star hall in the middle of the courtyard. In the star hall, one could accept missions and exchange for items. And this star hall was the evolved version of the 9-story pavilion. Its level was much higher than the 9-story pavilion. Among the items that could be exchanged, none of them were ordinary. However, according to the level of the items, the star points consumed would also be different. He finished reading the jade slip. Night Sorrow waited for a few more days on Night Demon Planet, but the people from Huang Ji still did not appear. Therefore, he boarded the starship and went straight to the Star Hall. After the starship landed on the platform of the Star Hall, Night Sorrow slowly flew down from the ship. He walked towards the entrance of the Star Hall. As he walked, he saw that some of the guards in the Star Hall were upper heavenly sovereigns. These guards looked at him with unfriendly gazes. Obviously, they felt that he, a lower heavenly sovereign, was not worthy of being a seated contestant in the middle of the courtyard. Night Sorrow did not care about these looks at all. He walked directly into the first level of the Star Hall. According to the records on the Jade Slip, the Star Hall was divided into 9 levels, just like the 9-story pavilion. On the first floor, the items and missions that could be exchanged or accepted were all in the single digits. On the second level, it was in the 10 digits. So on and so forth. If he wanted to exchange for a starship, he would need to enter the 5th level. The items or missions on the 9th level involved hundreds of millions of star points. Night Sorrow did not rush to the 5th level to look at the starship. Instead, he patiently looked at the 1st level. He found that the items that could be exchanged for on the 1st level were mostly star maps and star monster introduction books. In addition, there were some books with rare treasures and elixirs in the middle of the courtyard. After observing for a while, Night Sorrow found that every book seemed to be useful. Therefore, he spent a total of 100 star points to exchange for all 100 books. He knew that these were all necessities in the middle of the courtyard, so he started reading in the main hall. As he read, Night Sorrow found out that the middle of the courtyard was also called the Endless Sea of Stars. It contained an endless amount of star monsters, as well as endless good fortune. In the starry sky, there were endless resources floating, but it was unknown who would find them. If I just mentioned the name of the courtyard, who would have thought that it contained such an endless sea of stars? As he read more, Night Sorrow learned more about the endless sea of stars. In his heart, he had endless imagination about the endless sea of stars. Isn't this the night demon we are looking for? He actually came to the Star Hall. Just as Night Sorrow was concentrating on reading, a sinister voice suddenly sounded. Night Sorrow heard it and looked back, only to find that there were two people. One was Meng He, and the other was Zhu Qingxian. He immediately sneered, "You came at the right time." Chapter 33:28. Ha! You're a star master who can't even protect a planet. Where did you get your confidence from? Meng He burst into laughter when he heard Night Sorrow's words. He and Zhu Qingxian had Huang Ji and Si Ming as their backup. They were not afraid of Night Sorrow at all. Moreover, both of their strengths had increased recently. Their confidence was inflated. Although they knew that they were no match for Night Sorrow in a one-on-one battle, they felt that Night Sorrow had no chance of winning in a two-on-one battle. After all, they had fought in an open battlefield before. They had only managed to escape because Jia Lin had appeared. What are you two trash talking about? Did you follow Baron Thorn to my Night Demon planet to cause trouble? Night Sorrow was already enraged by the destruction of Night Demon Planet's palace and the injury of his friend. Now that the two of them were here, how could he not be angry? He scolded them coldly. Meng He and Zhu Qingxian were confident in themselves. He was also confident that he would win. Who gave you the courage to call us trash? Meng He asked angrily when he heard Night Sorrow's words. Zhu Qingxian sneered. Meng He, why are you angry with a Star Master who doesn't even dare to return to his planet after his palace was destroyed? We can just take care of trash like him. You're right, Meng He replied and looked at Night Sorrow. Since you think we're trash, do you dare to fight with us in the decisive battle platform? His words were naturally a provocation to Yi Shang, to make him agree to fight 1 against 2. Hearing this, Yi Shang naturally understood what they meant. He said disdainfully, "Didn't you look down on me as a Star Master? Why do you want to fight me in a 2-on-1 battle?" Although that was what he said, it was exactly what he wanted. Although Killer Heaven Academy did not forbid students from fighting, they could not simply fight in the Star Hall where the rules were strict. If they wanted to fight, they had to go to the decisive battle platform. He felt that it would save him a lot of trouble to take care of both of them at once. So what if we look down on you? If you have the guts, fight with us. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Meng He continued to provoke him. Although Zhu Qingxian didn't say anything, she looked at Night Sorrow with a mocking gaze. Their goal was to provoke Night Sorrow into accepting their challenge. 2 against 1 to eliminate Night Sorrow. If you have the guts, why don't you challenge me 1 by 1? Hearing their words, Night Sorrow sneered and mocked. 2 old birds who have been in the endless sea of stars for many years don't even have the courage to challenge a new student. In front of him, Meng He and Zhu Qingxian were clearly prepared to fight him, so he was not in a hurry. The 2 of us have already given you a chance to take revenge by challenging you to a duel. Otherwise, how would you have the chance to face the enemy who crushed your friend's bones? If we were on Night Demon Planet, I'm afraid you wouldn't even have the chance to fight 1 against 2. After Night Sorrow finished, Zhu Qingxian sneered and said. As soon as he finished speaking, Meng He continued to provoke him, "Those friends of yours are really tough. It feels good to pinch them." Be ****. Night Sorrow knew that the 2 of them were deliberately provoking him, but when he heard what they said, the anger in his heart still rose. He looked at the 2 of them coldly and said, "I agree to fight with you. But since it's a duel, there must be something. What do you want to bet with me?" We can bet anything. After all, you don't have the chance to win. Meng He originally didn't want to bet anything. He just wanted to kill Night Sorrow in a duel. When he heard what Meng He said, his interest was piqued. Zhu Qingxian said, "I think the coffin in your hand is pretty good. Why don't we use our half-step to supreme-class divine artifacts to bet on your ancient coffin? What do you think?" The 2 of them had basically figured out what Night Sorrow had. They felt that the ancient coffin was the most precious item, so they wanted to bet on the ancient coffin. "Your bet is Long Tianzhou and the purple snow-glazed cup?" After Zhu Qingxian finished speaking, Night Sorrow asked. "Of course." Zhu Qingxian confirmed and said provocatively, 1 against 2, do you dare? Why wouldn't I dare to face two pieces of trash like you? Yi Shang mocked disdainfully before he continued, I feel that your wager is lacking in spirit, so I'm going to add something else. You want to add something to the bet? Ha! We are willing. What do we have to agree to? You can add anything you want. When Zhu Qingxian heard Night Sorrow's words, he immediately laughed hysterically. Meng He and Meng He's original goal was to lure Night Sorrow into a duel. They didn't expect to gain something. It's simple. I'll use Night Demon Star to bet on Meng He and Qingxian Star. Do you dare to bet? Night Sorrow said coldly. No one in the courtyard had ever mentioned this bet before. It was definitely a huge bet. Hearing this, even a few elders in the Star Hall turned their attention to them. It was not rare to have a duel in the Star Hall. However, they had never seen a bet on a star before. Naturally, they were very curious. Meng He and Zhu Qingxian discussed for a while under the watchful eyes of the elders. They then said in unison, let's bet. There's nothing we don't dare to bet on. However, you have Night Demon Star. It's not easy for the two of us to split it. If you add Jialin Star, we'll agree to your bet. Alright. However, if the bet is one-on-one, then the two of you will fight me separately. You can't take all the good things. Night Sorrow looked at Meng He and Zhu Qingxian and said word by word. What do you think? After Night Sorrow said that, Meng He looked at Zhu Qingxian. At this moment, he suddenly felt that Night Sorrow had a certain amount of confidence and was somewhat lacking in confidence. What do you think? Let's bet. Night Demon Star is an unmined star. No matter how we look at it, it's still a win for us. Zhu Qingxian replied without hesitation. Alright, we'll bet with you. The bet is as we said. When Meng He heard Zhu Qingxuan's words, he didn't hesitate anymore. He immediately agreed. Words are no guarantee. Let's sign a contract. As Night Sorrow spoke, he took out a contract from the space and let Meng He and Zhu Qingxian sign it. At this time, a white-bearded, purple-robed elder from Star Hall said with a smile, it's rare to see such an interesting bet. I'll be the one to sign the contract. My Star Hall's contract can only be exchanged with 100 star points. It's much more binding than your own contract. Once you sign it, you won't regret it. Thank you very much, Elder. Here are 100 star points. Please keep them well. When Night Sorrow heard the purple-robed elder's words, he immediately took back the contract and handed over his star token to the other party to collect the star points. Since it's a gift from me, I naturally won't collect the star points. Take out this contract and use it. However, I suggest that you don't sign a life and death contract. After all of you are geniuses of the central courtyard. The higher-ups don't want any of you to die. The purple-robed elder said with a smile as he pushed Night Sorrow's star token back to him. Chapter 33:29. Although the purple-robed elder had a smile on his face, his tone gave people a feeling that there was no room for doubt. Obviously, he would not allow anyone to die in today's battle. In fact, it made sense. There were only 33 talented Star Lords in the middle of the Star Ocean. If someone died in every duel, few Star Lords in the infinite sea of stars would be able to grow up. After hearing what he said, Night Sorrow understood what was going on. He knew that the purple-robed elder was not only here to watch the show, but also to preside over the battle and prevent anyone from dying. Therefore, he said, then let's do as the elder says. We only care about winning or losing, not life or death. As for the outcome, please help us witness it. Good. No problem. With me here, no one can go back on their word today. The purple-robed elder looked at Night Sorrow and said. Then, he looked at Meng He and Zhu Qingxian and said, what do you two think? Since the elder has spoken, we will spare his life. However, if he can't even protect his star body, as a Star Lord, he will be too ashamed to stay in the Star Ocean. After the purple-robed elder finished speaking, Meng He said confidently. In his eyes, Night Sorrow was the fish that had taken the bait. And he and Zhu Qingxian were the choppers on the chopping board. What about you? At this time, the purple-robed elder asked Zhu Qingxian. Brother Meng's opinion is my opinion. Zhu Qingxian said and continued, since the elder wants to preside over the battle, how about you open the battle platform for us personally? Of course. However, both of you need to sign the contract first. The purple-robed elder stroked his white beard and said, That's great. After the purple-robed elder finished speaking, Zhu Qingxian immediately signed her name on the contract and dripped her blood. Then, she sent a voice transmission to Meng He. Today's battle is 2 against 1, which is a bit disgraceful. However, we still need to invite Boss Baron Thorn and Boss Si Ming. I will send a voice transmission to them. But you inform them. I will sign the contract. Meng He replied and left his name on the contract like Zhu Qingxian. After that, Night Sorrow signed his name on the contract without hesitation. After the 3 of them signed their names, the purple-robed elder said with a smile, I will bring you to the battle platform to familiarize yourself. During this time, you can invite your friends to watch the battle. It's not very lively with just the 3 of you. In fact, the purple-robed elder did this to protect them. After all, it was very likely that one would be seriously injured in a duel. If they gathered their friends, they would be able to receive treatment immediately. That's good. Just in time for them to come over and see how I avenge him. After hearing the purple-robed elder's words, Night Sorrow immediately sent a voice transmission to Meng He. He told Meng He Shen Meng He Thorn and asked he Meng He Meng Meng He Meng He Meng, and Meng He Meng He. Meng He Meng? Wasn't this a little too rash? Meng He Meng Meng to Meng He Meng Meng Meng. Meng. Night Sorrow's talent was one of the best in the endless sea of stars. However, he was only a lower heavenly sovereign, while Meng He and Zhu Qingxian were both outstanding upper heavenly sovereigns. Night Sorrow should be able to win 1 against 1, but 1 against 2, that would be a different story. She immediately found Whirling Woman and the others and said, Everyone, let's interrupt your recovery. The Night Demon is currently gambling with someone else on the battle platform with the enemy who injured you. Let me take you there. What? Brother Yi, is betting with someone? Could we trouble Miss Jia Lin to bring us there? Bai Mei Sanren immediately said when he heard that Night Sorrow was betting with someone. The others' reactions were similar to Bai Mei Sanren's. Then, under Jia Lin's lead, they arrived at the battle arena. At this time, there were already over 100 spectators gathered on the battle stage. These spectators were Huang Ji, Si Ming, Meng He, and Zhu Qingxuan's subordinates. At this time, they were standing behind Meng He and Zhu Qingxian, cheering them on. There was no one behind Night Sorrow, and it looked very deserted. Brother Night, I'm here to help you. Seeing that there was no one behind Night Sorrow, which formed a strong contrast with the opposite side, Bai Mei Sanren immediately shouted. However, his voice was too soft and was directly drowned out by the cheers of the other party. Master, I'll fight with you. At this time, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast suddenly enlarged its body and stood there roaring wildly. It jumped directly onto the stage. He had never called him Master before because he was friends with Yishang. However, Night Sorrow was fighting 1 against 2, so he could not just watch. Chaos, you're still injured, so don't force yourself. I'm still confident in dealing with these 2 pieces of trash. Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to observe the chaotic heavenly crystal beast and found that although his cultivation had advanced to the level of upper heavenly sovereign, there were several injuries on his body that had not recovered yet. We're betting on a battle, so why are you here to fill in the mess? Didn't you get beaten up enough last time? Seeing the chaotic heavenly crystal beast appear on the battle stage, Meng He immediately provoked unhappily. At this time, the purple-robed elder said, This is Night Demon's battle pet, and I can feel the connection between them. Night Demon is betting with you, so there's nothing wrong with him going on stage. Battle pet? So that's how it is. Well, then both of you will be tortured together. Meng He immediately understood what was going on when he heard the purple-robed elder's words. He smiled coldly. At this time, Huang Jie, who was sitting at the side of the stage, sized up the chaotic heavenly crystal beast and said, I didn't notice it last time, but this battle pet is a little interesting. Both of you, help me get it. Senior brother Huang Jie. Meng He and Zhu Qingxian replied in unison when they heard Huang Jie's words. Are you Huang Jie or Arbiter of Fate? Night Sorrow looked at Huang Jie coldly and asked in return. You don't deserve to know my name. Huang Jie replied disdainfully when he saw Night Sorrow looking at him with killing intent. Do you think I'm not worthy? Very well, I'll challenge you in the next round. Night Sorrow looked at Huang Jie and said, then sent a voice transmission to the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. You haven't recovered yet, enter the eternal divine tower immediately. You're not needed in the current battle. Alright then. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast still listened to Night Sorrow's words. It immediately entered the eternal divine tower obediently. At this moment, Night Sorrow turned to look at Dancing Lady and the others and said, From now on, I will help you take revenge bit by bit. We believe in you. Dancing Lady knew that Night Sorrow was ready to be ruthless and looked at Meng He and Zhu Qingxian sympathetically. Bai Mei Sanren, Marquis Lang, and the others had similar looks. They had absolute confidence in Night Sorrow. Chapter 33:30. Shameless boasting. You want to challenge senior brother Huang Ji? Ignorant people are truly fearless. Hearing that Night Sorrow wanted to challenge Huang Ji, Meng He immediately murmured. Meng He immediately said with disdain, and then said with killing intent, You'd better get past me and Qing Xian first. Although we can't kill you, we'll definitely cripple you today. After that, he sent a voice transmission to Zhu Qingxian. Don't delay any longer, lest senior brother Huang Ji gets angry. Alright, let's test his strength first, then we'll use our trump card. Zhu Qingxian replied. Then, she started to move towards Night Sorrow. At the same time, Meng He also moved. He and Zhu Qingxian were like two corners of a triangle, constantly moving towards Night Sorrow. Although the two of them did not attack, Night Sorrow immediately calmed down. After all, it was 1 against 2. He knew that he could not afford to be careless. When they were about 10,000 feet away from Night Sorrow, Zhu Qingxian suddenly shouted. Then, she took out a vase-shaped artifact from the space and smashed it towards Night Sorrow's position. The artifact looked similar to the purple snow-glazed cup. However, it was obviously a one-time use replica. When it got close to Night Sorrow, it exploded. The power of the explosion was very strong. After the artifact exploded, Zhu Qingxian summoned a lotus seat. After being summoned, the lotus seat flew into the sky and shone with thousands of rays of light. Night Sorrow, who had just dodged the explosion, was enveloped by the light. Suddenly, he felt his legs go weak and he almost knelt on the ground. It's working. Let's go. When he saw Night Sorrow, he seemed to be unable to stand properly. Zhu Qingxian immediately shouted. I've been preparing for this for a long time. At this time, Meng He took out a divine artifact that looked very similar to Long Tianzhou and stepped on it to increase his speed. Then, he used a heavenly supreme level war halberd to slash at Night Sorrow. When Meng He used the war halberd to attack, Zhu Qingxian took out a folding fan and spun it towards Night Sorrow. Moreover, he began to form hand seals, preparing for a long-range attack. The two of you aren't very strong, but your teamwork is very good. Facing Meng He and Zhu Qingxuan's attacks, Night Sorrow frowned and said. He then took out his golden heavenly halberd and unleashed the azure profound divine spear art. With the help of the 9 steps of heaven defying, he used the golden heavenly halberd to send Meng He and Zhu Qingxian flying. This is a half-step supreme class divine artifact. Be careful. Seeing Night Sorrow take out a half-step to supreme class divine weapon, Huang Ji, who was watching from the side, immediately reminded him. I didn't expect you to have a new half-step supreme class divine artifact so soon. Meng He, who was sent flying, stared at the golden heavenly halberd in Night Sorrow's hand in disbelief. In the previous battle, the golden heavenly halberd in Night Sorrow's hand was a heavenly sovereign divine artifact. Who would have thought that in such a short period of time, he would rise to the level of a half-step to the supreme realm? His divine weapon has leveled up. Let's be careful and use a half-step Supreme Class Divine Artifact. Seeing the golden heavenly halberd in Night Sorrow's hand, Zhu Qingxian reminded Meng He. At the same time, he took out the purple snow-glazed cup and floated it on his shoulder, attacking Night Sorrow. Last time, your divine artifact didn't have any effect. This time, it will be the same. Facing Zhu Qingxuan's purple snow-glazed cup, Night Sorrow roared fearlessly and once again used the golden heavenly halberd to attack. He directly dispersed the purple snow-glazed cup that was emitted by it. Bastard! The purple snow-glazed cup is actually useless? Seeing Night Sorrow's attack on the purple snow-glazed cup with one move, Zhu Qingxian said in disbelief. He took out the half-step Supreme Class Divine Artifact, the Ru Yizhong Bell, and charged towards Night Sorrow. However, it was easily dodged. At the same time, Meng He used the Dragon Sky Ship. This time, the Dragon Sky Ship was refined by Andrew, and its speed was much faster. Moreover, it had the ability to attack. Once he steered it, he continuously shot arrows at Yishang's position from the side of the Dragon Sky boat. These arrows were all at the half-step Supreme Class. They were very sharp and had the ability to automatically pursue. After Meng He drove the Dragon Sky Ship and shot out about 1,000 arrows, a dragon's roar suddenly came from the void. Then, the arrows that were chasing after Night Sorrow in the void all transformed into dragons. You've made progress. No wonder you're confident that you can defeat me. However, using such an attack is simply sending yourself to death. Seeing Meng He use such a method, Night Sorrow sneered and used the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique. After he used the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique, a huge Kunpeng immediately appeared in the void. After the Kunpeng appeared, it immediately swallowed the arrows that had turned into dragons in the void. The way he swallowed was like a giant whale in the vast ocean, opening its mouth and swallowing thousands of small fish. Without any effort, it swallowed all the arrows shot out by the Dragon Sky Ship. Then, the Kunpeng opened its mouth and tried to swallow the Dragon Sky Ship. But at this time, it was almost exhausted and directly disappeared in the void. That was close. Just now, when the Kunpeng tried to swallow the Dragon Sky Ship, Meng He felt a strong sense of fear. Brother Meng, don't be afraid. After all, the two of us are fighting side by side. At this time, Zhu Qingxian comforted him and used the Rui Bell again to charge at Night Sorrow. His strongest technique was his left hand. But with the previous battle experience, he did not dare to use it casually before the ancient coffin appeared. He was afraid of losing another hand. This time, the Rui Bell that was charging at Night Sorrow was obviously different from before. When Night Sorrow faced it, he felt that he was locked in place and had a feeling that he could not avoid it. This divine artifact has also been strengthened. When Night Sorrow came to his senses, he immediately understood that the Rui Bell was the same as the Dragon Sky Ship. They had both been strengthened. After hesitating for a moment, he suddenly activated the Treastrimsa Battle Mystic Technique and activated the Green Phoenix Armor. He waved his left palm and directly slapped at the Rui Bell. Bastard! He is learning from me. He knows that my left palm is powerful. Seeing Night Sorrow use his left palm to attack the Rui Bell, Zhu Qingxian immediately shouted in anger. What surprised him even more was that Night Sorrow was not pushed back by the strengthened Rui Bell. Instead, he sent the Rui Bell flying. He immediately roared, "That's impossible. Could it be that his attack is at the level of half-step to Supreme Realm? Don't be agitated. It should be the armor on his body that has given him a certain amount of help. If each of his attacks has the strength of half-step to Supreme Realm, then we will definitely lose today. But that's impossible. How can a lower Heavenly Supreme have the combat strength of half-step to Supreme Realm?" Seeing that Zhu Qingxian had lost his composure, Meng He immediately comforted him. Then, he transmitted his voice, "We can't go on like this. Let's use the divine artifacts that we borrowed from the two bosses." When Zhu Qingxian heard this, he glanced at Night Sorrow and said, "That's the only way." Chapter 33-31. As Zhu Qingxian recovered Meng He, a trace of uneasiness flashed through her heart. Because in the previous battle, Night Sorrow had relied on that strange ancient coffin to gain the upper hand. This time, not only did he not take out the ancient coffin, he did not even use the eternal divine tower and easily suppressed the two of them. This feeling made her very depressed. She secretly said, "Fortunately, the two of us have the life artifacts of senior brother Huang Ji and senior brother Si Ming. Prepare to die." While Zhu Qingxian was thinking, Meng He had already summoned a large black cauldron and smashed it towards Night Sorrow. "Not good. Night Demon, be careful, this is Huang Ji's life artifact. Half-step to extreme state artifact, Wanjun Source Chi Cauldron. Its power is very terrifying." Seeing Meng He summon Huang Ji's life artifact, Wanjun Source Chi Cauldron, Jie Lin immediately sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow, reminding him to be careful. No wonder they are so confident. It turns out that they have obtained someone else's life artifact. But don't worry, life artifacts are things like life artifacts. Only when the person controls them can they erupt with the strongest combat power. When Meng He uses it, it shouldn't be that terrifying. Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to Jie Lin and directly activated the Destruction Divine ability. When the Wanjun Source Chi Cauldron smashed over, he increased his speed and prepared to dodge it. However, this Wanjun Source Chi Cauldron was clearly very intelligent. It actually quickly chased after Night Sorrow in the void. At the same time, Zhu Qingxian also borrowed the Qiankuan hidden sword from Si Ming and shot it towards Night Sorrow. This Qiankuan hidden sword was a green sword that looked like a bamboo joint. Its speed was very fast. After being shot out, it chased after Night Sorrow together with the Wanjun Source Chi Cauldron. Facing the pursuit of the two divine artifacts, Night Sorrow used 9 heaven-defying steps to dodge. Night Sorrow, who could not use the ancient coffin and eternal divine tower, was completely enraged. He immediately burned his Phoenix bloodline, Jie Lin bloodline, and Liken bloodline. After the 3 bloodlines were burned, Night Sorrow's aura suddenly increased qualitatively. He gave off the feeling that he was half a step into the Supreme Realm. After his aura stabilized, Night Sorrow used the Golden Heavenly Halberd to fight against the myriad Jun Source Chi Cauldron and Universe Hidden Sword. Although these two divine weapons were not Meng He and Zhu Qingxuan's natal divine weapons, they were still very powerful when they were used. However, it also tied up their energy. While Night Sorrow was fighting against the two divine weapons, the two of them stood still and did not use any other attacks. This kid is not ordinary. It seemed like Meng He and Zhu Qingxian were right. He could not be allowed to live. He had to kill them as soon as possible. Otherwise, if we let him grow, we won't be able to survive in the endless sea of stars. Seeing that Night Sorrow was able to fight against Meng He and Zhu Qingxuan's two divine artifacts, they were shocked. Baron Thorn, who was watching from the sidelines, immediately said maliciously. At the same time, he remembered Night Sorrow's words. If Night Sorrow could win this battle, he would definitely challenge him. He had already started to think about how he could quickly suppress Night Sorrow. Judging from the combat strength that Night Sorrow had displayed, even he might be able to defeat him. This Night Demon is too big of a threat. We can't let him grow. Even if it means breaking some rules, we have to kill him. Si Ming's face was also a little serious. He was no longer as carefree as before. He could feel that if Night Sorrow advanced another 1 or 2 cultivation stages, he and Baron Thorn would be easily defeated. The sense of superiority in his heart had been completely shattered. The purple-robed elder who was watching from the sidelines saw the battle and could not help but nod his head. Obviously, he recognized Night Sorrow's ability. Then he sent a voice transmission to Jie Lin. "This kid is very close to you. Is he also one of Ji Xian's men?" Teacher Ji Xian recommended Night Demon to enter the middle court. Jie Lin immediately replied when he heard the voice transmission. She knew that the purple-robed elder had a high status in Star Hall. Therefore, she did not dare to hide it from him. "Okay, I got it." As the purple-robed elder replied, he began to think about how to improve his relationship with Night Sorrow. This was because he could see that Night Sorrow had the aura of a supreme supremacy in the battle. There were less than 5 cultivators in the endless sea of stars who had such an aura. In the future, if he did not die unexpectedly, Night Sorrow would definitely grow into another overlord in the endless sea of stars. He would not have to rely on others like other cultivators. Jie Lin, Bai Mei Sanren, and the others were very worried about Night Sorrow. This was because the 2 divine weapons controlled by Meng He and Zhu Qingxian gave off a very dangerous feeling. There was a powerful aura that could destroy the heavens and earth. Moreover, Night Sorrow was indeed having a hard time fighting against it. He had been hit several times in a row. Fortunately, Night Sorrow had the Likan bloodline and his recovery ability was very strong. As the battle progressed, his injuries healed on their own. After being suppressed by the Wanjun Source Chi Cauldron and the Qian Kuan Sleeve Sword for an hour, Night Sorrow gradually found that Meng He and Zhu Qingxuan's divine souls were not strong enough. In the situation where their divine souls were not strong enough, the 2 of them were still controlling the 2 divine weapons. However, the power of the Wanjun Source Chi Cauldron and the Qian Kuan Sleeve Sword had decreased. If the power of the Wanjun Source Chi Cauldron and the Qian Kuan Sleeve Sword had decreased a little, I would have a chance to use the Nirvana Heart Flame. As long as I can successfully use it, the 2 of them will definitely lose. In the process of continuing to fight against the 2 divine weapons, Night Sorrow secretly thought. Compared to the worried Bai Mei Sanren and the others, his confidence was very strong. This confidence mainly came from the powerful recovery ability of the Likan bloodline. As the battle progressed, not only did the injuries on his body recover, but his divine origin force and divine soul power were also constantly recovering. Moreover, the backlash from the destruction divine ability did not appear at all and was dissolved by the Likan bloodline. This feeling was very mysterious. It made Night Sorrow feel that even if he fought continuously for 10 days and 10 nights, he would still be able to maintain his peak state. This was an incomparably horrifying ability. The 3 people fighting until now, Huang Jie at the sidelines similarly saw through Night Sorrow's aura. It was completely different from Meng He and Zhu Qingxian. He said in shock, "Not good. This night devil fought for so long and did not consume any medicinal pills, but his aura did not weaken at all. At this rate, Meng He and Zhu Qingxian definitely can't hold on. This battle they lost." "Oh, is that so?" Hearing this, Arbiter started to observe the battle on the field seriously. Only then did he say in surprise, "It's really like this. How did he do it?" "No way. He possesses this kind of ability, even I'm not his match either. If he issues a challenge to me in a while, whether I accept or not, it will be very uncomfortable. I'll leave first today." After observing for a while more, Huang Jie completely confirmed that Night Sorrow practically did not expend any divine essence energy when fighting. Recalling Night Sorrow's words of preparing to challenge him, he quietly left the decisive battlefield. Seeing Huang Jie's departing figure in his eyes, the purple-robed elder could not help shaking his head. "You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."